Now, I would like to talk about a new Mandela effect that has come to my attention. It seems to be the aircraft and the way they're designed. Things about aircraft look a bit odd lately, you know, or have been looking odd. And then we go back and look at the history of these aircraft, and well, it's kind of been that way the whole time. Now, I've made these claims that perhaps it's because of the composition of the atmosphere and the fact that planes are made differently to fly. It's a theory that, you know, seems to be very plausible to me. What we call wingtip vortices. Well, these planes are exhibiting this type of behavior, but at low speeds, typically landing. This one is absolutely one of the best, okay? Let me show you this. Watch this plane. Check this out. Here it is in real time. Look at that stuff coming off the plane. Isn't that wild? I am freaking out. What the hell? Look at that. That stuff is just hanging in the air. Just okay. Yeah, and look, here's another one exhibiting the same type of behavior. Also notice that this plane has this weird sort of, I don't know, like I said, plume around the wing. Like it's forming like a vapor or condensation perhaps. I don't understand quite what that is. It's really strange. A lot of these are doing that. Now, of course, the clouds are, here's another one. This one is just ominous. Look at this. It comes through the clouds. Let me back it up a bit here. Check this out. Watch this. Check this dude. And look at that. That is so crazy, man. Okay, so this next clip here. Watch this plane. Goes through the clouds. Just watch how it just makes these spirals like that. Isn't that crazy looking? Like, what? I don't remember. That's just, I don't know, man. This is some weird stuff with these clouds. It just, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Weird and bizarre. And it kind of makes this weird looking face too. Wow. And it's going to speed up and you're going to see, watch the propellers. Now watch what this does. Check this out. Check that out. What? Dude, this is... Are you kidding me right now?
Hey, I'm here today. I have a special, lovely guest. I am doing this blind. We've only just said hello to each other and I stuck the recorder on. Scarab!
Hey, what's going on? Sorry, I'm just getting in place here. How are you doing?
I'm doing really
great.
well. I feel very honored that you've come on. And as I said, I've hassled you for this hangout.
No, it wasn't a hassle at all. It was more like stalking. But it's fine. What guy doesn't deserve a stalking from time to time, you know? It happens. It's all good.
Oh, that's even worse than I tried to portray it.
No, it's all, like I said, it's fun. You know, I've never been stalked from another country before, so it was a little weird. It was a little different. But, you know, hey, it was actually not so bad. I mean, I you know, because I mean, there's always that delay, you know. I mean, how can you really be stalked? I mean, if there's like a 6-7 hour delay, you know, it's kind of hard to. So it's no big deal. Actually, no, I know we've been, you know, touching back and forth to, you know, trying to, you know, get in touch, and sometimes I've just been, it's been so crazy the last few months for me. So I apologize.
No, it's an absolute pleasure of mine.
Oh, well, thank you.
It's quite a normal thing to go on Hangouts and talk to people. As you know, we used to be a bigger channel, then YouTube took that channel when we got 10,000 subs. I just woke up one day and it wasn't there. And then I started another channel where it was called the Unscrambled Channel, where I proved that this case was not right. And then what it is we say that all roads lead back to that case. It doesn't, it leads back further. But I saw it all happening in that case. It's what they're doing to us today. I get to 6,000, they take the channel.
Oh, wow. So you've had your channel.
I'm going again.
You've had your channel taken away quite a bit, it sounds like. Gosh, that's
Twice,
crazy.
twice, yeah.
Yeah,
Because I like to
huh.
spread the truth. Really.
Well, yeah, we all do, right? And that's what we're doing. It's just, I just wonder why certain people every once in a while, what it is that makes it happen. Because, uh, it's an odd thing. I don't know if it's the fact that maybe I'm liked by the evil entities out there that seem to, because I try to use a lot of comedy and tell a few jokes and things like that. I don't know what it is. It's like I really haven't gotten targeted like other channels. I've seen targeting. I know it exists. I know that maybe it's they say you get the most flack if you're over the target. Maybe they're not really. My
Well,
main
you know,
thing
you
for
know
getting
what
on
else they
YouTube was
do?
yes, yeah,
What
go
else
ahead.
they do is they affect your algorithm, right? I've got a channel which went out as a flat Earth channel, although when they said they were doing all that, I just took those words out. But it's been shadow banned.
Oh
That
yeah,
channel, nobody needs to join that channel. You can't find it. When you look it up, you can't find it. Unscrambled 2 isn't so blocked, and that's slowly picking up. And on Sun and Moon, I've
mm,
been putting a lot of effort into that one. That started off more as a research group. We was looking at the
sure,
stars and people coming on with their ideas. But I've come to you.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
into the Mandela effect, aren't you?
I am. That's how it all started. It was the Mandela effect. Like, I've been on Truth or whatever, in the community as a commenter mainly. I didn't really get into, the whole thing about, like all the other conspiracies. Because at the time in YouTube land, there was a host of great channels that were doing good work. I didn't really feel like my voice was really needed at that point because, gosh, if I thought there was a conspiracy, I could find 20 channels giving out pretty good evidence for that conspiracy. You know what I mean? Like solid ones. And I'm sure there were more. And so, up comes this thing that happened to me. And I can get into, quickly some of the weird things that transpired in
Can I say something before you
2016 for me.
start? You explain yours,
What?
but I'll just very quickly. Right, I think the
Okay.
Mandela happens when you start to wake up. It changes everything. Your whole life changes when you start to wake up, and I think that what brings on the Mandela effect.
Well, I maybe that's just part of the whole, the awakening process, right? Like,
Hmm.
you start to notice things, you start to break through different layers, and you start to realize that, you get to a point where, gosh, is reality itself even what it is it something completely different? Is there more to our world than what we've been told? Because at first, we're on the surface of things. Did somebody, conspire to kill JFK? Did planes hit the twin towers? Stuff like that. And then you
Um,
then you sort of break it down, right? And then
Gareth,
you then you
Gareth,
you enter a new
can I
level.
just say on that score with those, they meaning well,
Hmm.
the elite. We'll just leave it like that, or through the politics. They did it. None of that was real. They made all those things happen, and then we
Right.
go, oh, and then they change the laws because we now feel we need them. But the
Well,
things that they've
there's
done,
a
they all
lot
need
to
to go to
this.
prison. They need to go to prison. A whole lot of them.
Right.
You can't believe
Oh well,
anything you see on that tell lie vision. It's tell a
I
lie on a
understand.
vision.
I completely agree. That's why I turned. So just quickly, here's how the timeline, how I got to the Mandela effect
Hmm.
happened. So in 2003, I had done everything they said. Okay, I was a very successful person. I worked as an engineer. I was I had the house. I was planning to get married. I had I had done everything. I had the car. I'm saying, like, life as far as what I've done. I was reaching the point where they say this is what you have to do to be, quote, happy. So I did all those things, and I thought, okay, I'm sitting there one day, and I shit you not, some video came up. It was it was a loose change. So actually, and I have to credit my ex-wife for this, because she brought home this a videotape. This is how old this was. We puts in the videotape into the player, and there was this. She goes, "You got to see this," and I saw it, even though I saw it on that day, and even though I thought something was weird. it just didn't click yet. So I watched the towers go down, and I thought that's impossible. That could not have happened. Anyway, so that was the first, like, that was the initial oh my god moment where you're like,
Your whole life
there's something
changed.
really strange here. Yeah, because as an engineer, because my engineering background was more in process engineering, okay, and mechanical engineering. It wasn't a structural engineer.
Mm.
However, I was smart enough to figure out that there's no way that those buildings could just topple like that. So at that point, that's when I started looking into. I looked into their movie. I looked into all the stuff, and there was this weird, stuff. And so I went down the normal route. A lot of quote people do when they first get into the movement. They start looking at like alternative media, things like that. So of course, at the time, Alex Jones and all those people. So I was like watching that dude for a while, and like I said, that's where it first started. But I went through major depression. Like I thought, like I went to a doctor. Like I actually thought, like I didn't know what was wrong with me. I thought, my God, what the hell's happening? Like, of course, it's just like, oh well, and you got to remember, this was the early 2000s where I mean, in America, the economy was booming. Things were great. Everyone had a new car. People were buying homes like left and right. Everything was great. And so, you would think everyone should be happy, right? We have all this money and we, I mean, everything's wonderful. However, for me, my life came crashing down because I started noticing some, after that, it just woke me up to new things. So anyway, I went to the doctor. They were like, "Yeah, you just have depression, man. You just need to take some pills or something." And so they prescribed me like some I think it was Prozac or one of those. Anyway, I took that for like a week, and then I decided, hell, I can't be on this stuff. This stuff is horrible. I mean, like whatever that stuff was doing to the mind, I was like, I just felt weird. I mean, really off. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna just get myself off of this. I'm gonna deal with this, and I'm just gonna have to man up on it, in a sense. I'm just gonna have to, find out what the hell's going on. So I went down these rabbit holes for years, and along the way, I had spiritual awakenings to new things. One of the things that I did my whole life as a child was pay attention to the Great Pyramids, and I paid attention to the stars. I was a young astronomer. I had my telescopes out and binoculars, always outside watching the meteor showers. I don't know how many meteor showers I sat out there and froze to death in the Texas nights, trying to, catch a great meteor shower, things like that. So on forward, we get to a next, pivotal moment was, right before 2012. And of course everyone was talking about the Mayan calendar and things like that. And I didn't realize what my role in all this was until one day a friend recorded me talking without my knowledge, and he asked me a simple question, and I realized that I had this weird ability to sort of say things without really even
Knowing what
knowing
you're saying.
what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like I had an ability to sort of share information on levels. I could answer questions that were asked to me, like at the time.
Mm.
So he asked me about, what's about to happen. Like what, he was all jazzed up and he's like, tell me what's going to happen, in the next few years. And I said, well, and I came up with this like out of the blue, like talking about like like I said, I don't even know how to attribute it. I didn't study this stuff. I'm not well versed in it. But like I started talking about all this awakening happening and how we're gonna be moving into a more a world on a different frequency and things like all this stuff. It was really interesting. Like, I mean, when I listened to it back, I can't believe it's me saying it. It's really odd, right? So I started noticing I also had other ideas. Like when I would, get online and I would share information with people, I could actually I felt like I was just being like drawn, guided to say certain
Mm.
things. And in the flat earth community, I remember there was a lot about the Coriolis effect and stuff. And one day a question was asked about how is the Coriolis effect, you know, um, because there was a lot of people making reference to flat earth and of course I just thought about it. I said, well, the idea that the bullet, when you shoot a bullet downrange, I said, I said, and I had never even heard of this theory, but just from my mindset and thinking about how it all works, you know, the physics of it, I said, well, of course, the bullet's going to taper off to one direction. It's spinning, you know, as it goes further out and slows down, the spin of the bullet will actually start to, you know, taper off, and it'll actually, and as it slows down, it'll be more of a curve. That's why it curves the further you shoot downward. You know, it makes perfect sense. It's not the earth moving, it's simply the bullet. And it's odd because I did look up this you know, this theory, and I found it. There is actually scientific literature, which I didn't even know. See, it's stuff like that. I was like, wow. See, so I
You know
put
what
two and two
though?
together, and it worked. You know.
That's made for the globe,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that we have to learn the globe again so we can actually talk it back to people so that they understand, because they don't understand the place they live on.
That may be totally the case. There's definitely something up with his place. I mean, I get you, and I don't really get into flat Earth so much because it wasn't really my forte. I'll tell you what did bring me though. I have to give Flat Earth credit because it brought me into YouTube. And here's how it happened. So in 2015 or so, Flat Earth comes out, and you know, it's very intriguing to me that there's people that believe in Flat Earth. So I started listening, you know, because I'm never afraid to.
That's what the television's done. It's trained everybody to believe, and then you've got programs about spinning and all that. But we
Oh,
don't even learn.
sure.
We don't even learn the spin at school. We don't
I
learn
understand.
anything.
Yeah, no, I know all the arguments, everything. I mean, I'm with you. I definitely think that there's something bigger being hidden, and the idea that the Earth works on that way is very strange to me.
You know what I'm
I
finding
more
out? Do
believe
you know
in
what
the
I'm finding out on a slightly different
what's that?
thing? But this is what I said about the Mandela effect. Like now I go to the computer and basically Edward III, which is probably, I don't know, he's about the 1400s. His wife was a dark-skinned lady. And then when you work out the histories, that's Henry VI, Henry
Mm-hmm.
VII, Henry VI, it goes Edward IV, Edward V, Richard III, Henry VII, Henry VIII, Elizabeth I. Then it goes into James I. They were all dark-skinned people.
Yeah, I've heard
That's
that.
not what our history says. In fact, that's been wiped out. In
No,
fact,
I mean
they're what,
that
and this is what the Mandela effect is. If we hadn't started waking up, we wouldn't go
yeah.
and find the real history. And then, very quickly, because I've just started talking, but for me, this bit about Mandela, I actually,
Yeah.
like you have it, it's in your memory, and loads of life happens, and then you forget, and then you watch him be president again, and then you suddenly think, yeah, actually, I do remember seeing it on the news, and then people are going, yeah, we had a ceremony at school, and all that. And you're like, well, that way round, he was married and his wife got everything. And the second time, he divorced his wife and she didn't get anything. And it's all like,
Mm.
how could we let that happen and no one say anything?
You know, there's been a lot of historical changes. Um, and it's weird because I almost describe this as some sort of what I've seen. This is where, okay. So,
I know it's very
and
deep, it's
simply
very
put,
complicated, isn't it?
yeah, it's weird because I mean, like when I have to go back and think about how all this fits together because there's so many new things that are going on. Now you'll have those groups out there that are like, well, if this changes or that changes, it's of the devil, it's evil, it's whatever. I've never been so quick to just assume Satan is doing it or anybody like that. What I feel like is happening is that there are messages in some of these effects, but I also believe there are some people out there putting out disinformation regarding some of these things because they realize now that people are definitely becoming more aware and attuned to this, and in an awake world is not what they
It is
want.
a bit of a shock, isn't it, to sort of grow up believing that and being taught that. And actually, when you start to do any of your research, because a lot of the truth is out there, but you've got to find it. And, even YouTube, they hide people's channels like mine. So
Oh no,
whenever you
I'm
go to the
shadow
search
banned.
bar, my
I'm
channel's not going to
completely
come up in the
right.
search. Somebody who's got 4
Right.
million things and they
Oh
were
no, it sucks. I put
cutting their
out.
toenails or something. They get their
Oh,
fun.
totally. Of course they do. You know, and right now in America, it's all the big media that gets. If they've talked about anything regarding
I
your
think they're in
content,
control.
they get first bidding. Yeah.
I think the media are in control, and then comes the politics, because we have to go through the media to see it, and the media are the one pushing all the lies. I mean, some of those videos, some people will say lizards, some people will say CGI, and I feel it's virtual reality, sort of, like a computer game. They just got better, look
I don't
look
think
what
it's
they can get.
virtual. I think it's more like.
Why
I think
break it
it's
down? I
well.
break the
I
footage
think it's
down.
yeah. Right. You know, it's almost like they
You know what
have.
I do? I not only
Mm,
see glitching, just say on that person's head. Nobody else is glitching. The rest of his body's not glitching, just his head is. You can see where they're fitting things in, and they're obviously touching it up so at normal speed people aren't seeing it. And then the very first thing I did was I went to a channel and they said, slow the footage down, because what you do is you find the mistakes. And it's just all over it, and that's what I show. So they are made for us. They're not real at all. They are cartoons. We are run
well.
by cartoons. And my latest thing is
Hmm.
that what's her name? Who's the deputy going to be the deputy? The lady, I've forgotten her name now. Camilla. Camilla is Rita Wilson, and her husband is Tom Hanks, or a version of him, because it's just a game. You can see it's them when you look. It's that same effect. Yours is the Mandela, mine's another effect, but it's the same sort of thing. And it's like, it blows your mind, because I think, I need counselling now for what I've seen, what they're doing to us. I need the counselling. People sometimes write, oh, this is horrible. And I'm thinking, yeah, and I'm the one that finds it. They are lower than low, these people, to do this to us. It's disgusting. The effort, it's just ridiculous. They should have just told us the truth, shouldn't they?
Well, I think that they've gone with a lie for so long that people, once you get, to a point where you've lied and continue to lie, how do you say it? How do you tell people the
Can I
truth?
tell you something?
You can't,
You
you
don't know.
can't break it out now because you realize that you've gone how many years, hundreds, thousands years with lies, and then now you're just going to open it up to people. Well, the power structure definitely doesn't want to give you any truth, because if they did, it would completely crumble now, wouldn't it? I mean, and then you have to ask, then everything would come out. Then they would be under the
I
microscope
would
at that
love
point.
it if it did. I would love it. I'd
Well,
love
I
it.
believe that's coming. I really do, because you can't continue to,
I just find it
eventually
absolutely
all things will be
horrendous.
revealed.
I cannot, like, we watched this case, right? It was a really, really big case. And because everybody was watching it, some people getting really, really depressed, because this person murdered his wife, who was pregnant, and the two children, and dumped them in the oil tanks. And so the first thing that got me was that the police gave out everybody's names and addresses, so all the witnesses. Now, would a police station do that? No, they wouldn't. So that was really strange. Then we got all her Facebook, where we could see little videos of her doing things. And we also got stuff from the police. We got the oh my god, the discovery documents. And on there, you can see they've made loads of mistakes, which kept finding. And not just that, they said, for instance, he was on the drive for 10 minutes, but we get a video from them that's an hour. So, things just weren't adding up. And then I thought, someone brought out this drive footage where you could see him doing something that no one, suddenly there was a shadow on there, an extra shadow. And we broke all that down. I started looking at the footage and started looking at her video, and none of it was real. And then it was actually right at the end.
Mm.
I actually wrote to the president, and I got done for bullying on that one. YouTube did me for bullying. I wrote to the president. What was that bullying about? Do you see what I mean? That's the life that
Well,
YouTube had me
my biggest, like
in.
one of the craziest ones I saw, which was one of the most compelling things about how, if you ever wanted to see some information and then see how the media spins it, and then check this is like a discernment check. This is for people who are, this is when you know you're awake. Okay. It's like, how well can you discern through this information? Now we go back to the Hampstead case, right? Where the children claim to be in a satanic cult, and they have such detail, disgusting detail, of their father and these people, and then the media does a hit piece on the father, and literally just throws him softballs to, you know, to explain all this away as and of course the fake crocodile tears and stuff like that that was on
They
TV.
want us
I mean,
in
the guy
fear.
looked. I'm
They want
sorry,
us in
but
fear. They want us living in utter fear. And then fear has money involved because, like you say, you go to the doctors, get a prescription, and they're on medication. That's money. Or you now need a counsellor.
oh yeah.
That's money. Everything has money in it. But they want you. And also, like you said, you took those pills. I took it once for a court case. I only wanted a couple. I just didn't want to suddenly stand up and start screaming at the court. When I took
Hmm.
it just took, everything was almost wonderful because I didn't feel anything. It was like walking
Yeah.
around on cotton buds.
Hmm.
Nothing was affecting me. I had no feelings. But then I realized through time that antidepressants partake you from yourself and your spirit, your soul. And so that's why they take them. But like, we were hypochondriacs going to the hospital, just asking for these things. They're giving them to us. The hospital weren't ever treating us, they were making us iller. It's disgusting. The whole program
Well,
is
I
disgusting.
think that I think yeah.
We're a big experiment. We're an experiment.
Oh yeah, and the whole thing with the antidepressants is after part of my awakening to this was I started realizing as I went through this how other people were also dealing with depression, even though we were told that this world is wonderful, but we were working. The energy at that time was people don't remember. A lot of people forget what things were like, and the energy of the world at the time was so ramped up. It was so fervent. I mean, I remember things moving in the world at such a breakneck speed. I mean, everything was fast. I mean, you got up, you went to work,
It
your day
wasn't
was
like it
full
is
of.
today.
It was insanity at the time. It was like,
You know what I found out, right? And it's probably been going on for a while. And actually, as you don't really know me, so it might be a bit of a shock when I say this. But Bing Crosby even played Hitler. He played loads of people. There's channels out now where we can match the faces, and I do it too. I put pictures over the top and I whiz them backwards and forwards, and it goes them, him, and you can see that they're the same person. And it's like, Matt Damon's one of the most. He is just in. He's in so many people, and so is Tom Cruise. Oh my God, so many people are him, just a version of him.
well,
And
are
I
they, I don't know what to say. I mean, I've seen those before, and some of them are pretty
and listen,
compelling.
the saddest part about all that is that
Hmm.
when you're looking at it, you'll never know now whether you're looking at a man or a woman. They love
Well,
playing these games. The men dress. I have
somebody,
seen men dressed up as women playing
yeah.
solicitors, and I know that it's a man.
Well,
I've seen
you know,
women dressed as men. What you do is you have to slow the footage down, and then you just look into it in a bit of a way. And like when on Unscrambled, when I did 21 videos of the try, and I kept it was so hard because really it was really blurry. But the more you got into looking at the footage and what I was saying, the more you could get into what you were really seeing. So some of the messages were like, "Wow, I thought you were crazy," but now I've watched all the videos. Wow, they got it. And I was just so chuffed because it's so hard explaining this back to people. Because they don't realise, listen, just because you and I wouldn't lie or they wouldn't lie, they find it difficult to believe that other people would lie to them, and the politics is lying. But we wouldn't treat people like that. So people who are like that find it very hard to think that anybody would lie to them like that, but they do. Which you know about, don't you? Because yours is all about the Mandela effect.
yeah. Well, there's a lot there. So, what they can do now with the technology, you can't assume anybody is, their face is really them,
Can I tell you
digitally.
something? They have got
You can't.
technology. But I'm just not sure if sometimes they have what we think they have. Like, for
Hmm.
instance, I slowed down the footage of these soldiers. They were being shown around this place and they were obviously going to have to look after it. But when you actually started looking at it and this footage just slowed down, you think, God, they're a rumble old lot. They didn't have helmets on. They all had their phones out. It was a bit like this is in a movie, and they're like the gangsters, but they're all, whatever it is, soldiers do not stand there with their holding their hands and slumping around looking like they've come out of a movie. Soldiers are different. They were the home guard, but all of the footage was wrong. I broke it down, it was wrong. So I thought, oh my God, so what are they trying to tell us then? So they don't really have that many soldiers?
Well,
I don't know, it's
that
all a
guy
bit
was
like,
trying to.
and by the way, there's a really brilliant film. It's a bit like a documentary. It's black and white. It was made in the 60s. So basically, this guy goes for an interview. I'll very quickly explain it, right? He goes for an interview, and basically, then suddenly in the interview, what they've done is they've put a bug inside him, but they knew a while ago that he'd had an affair. So they had one over on him. So they took him down to this room and they said, this is the kind of thing we do. We make the news 3 years in advance. And what it is there's going to be a nuclear explosion in China. And he's going, well, how can you do that? He said, well, because nobody can go there and see it for themselves. But what it was is they were telling us in the 60s what they're doing to us. They make the news a year or two in advance. That's why these politicians never have any feeling in anything, because it's never happened. That's if they're real, if not virtual reality, which they're just making for us. All they need is 10 seconds of them, and then deep faking maybe, because Hillary turns up in a lot of things. There's a bit of Hillary. She's in so many things. You look at it and you think, that's Hillary dressed up as someone else now. But it might be her face is a bit longer, or she's a bit younger, or even older. It's just, or she's a man. They don't care. That's just the saddest bit. Like, you're looking at the news now and I think, doesn't anybody notice they've all got Adam's apples? We're women. It's not the fact people want to do this. It's not the fact that maybe you're a woman who likes women or a man who likes men. It's that you're being conned. Because I think, to be honest, anybody that is those that way, they always will explain it to you. They want the truth. That's the way I am. So they're lying to us doing it. I don't like that. It's deceiving people, because people just don't realise what they're looking at. But then once you realise what you are, you can see it in everybody you're looking at. It's just, sometimes, I bet you'll agree with me, sometimes I wish I was just that naive person who didn't really know anything, because life was a bit more simple then. And then once you wake up, you can't, there's so much to look at, there's so much to grasp. And when you get down this avenue, you're going to got to go down that avenue as well now. And there's just so much to learn. You're always learning. But I just do find it a bit depressing breaking the footage down a bit, because it's boring, actually. I've already proved there's something wrong with all the footage, that we're just being run by programs. Even when you think you're looking at the president or the prime minister or the queen, or whatever it is, they're just, on the television.
Yeah, I've been trying to say,
when I set the footage down, right, the flashes, I love the flashing, because there's always somebody else under the flashes. So you think, God, it wasn't them in the first place. You think, do they film them and then virtual reality on top of them who they really are? The Trump one was amazing. There was a completely different man under him. You could see Camilla wasn't Camilla and Charles wasn't Charles. And then, I've done other videos where then Donald Trump walked in front of the Queen, and then he walks in front of the soldier and everything is wrong. And then I show all the mistakes on that. So, and anyway, the one thing I've learned, it sounds really horrible. America isn't a country, it's a corporation. Donald Trump was, or is till today sometime, president of a corporation. And that's it. He's not your president. He's a president of their corporation. Well, it's just disgusting. And then you learn, like, government means govern your mind. So because it's meant is in Greek, it's mind, and then govern. So govern your mind. And it's like, I just wish I'd learnt it when I was younger. But I've learnt it now. I could never vote for them ever again, ever. Sorry. Carry on now. Sorry, I've had my rant now.
Okay. Well, I was just trying to make a point regarding people who showed me some technology that it was unbelievable. They took a picture of my face from my Facebook page. Okay, they literally put my face onto old actors and things like that. And it was, and of course, you have to understand this is the technology you and I can have. Who's to say the government or people, that are, working in the darkness don't have way better technology to literally just take your face and wrap it over anybody. They could make you out to look
Yeah.
like they're committing a crime. They could make
Yes.
you look
Make
like
people
you're
like
saying,
but yeah.
I
Yes.
mean, I'm
That's
telling you,
what
this
they're doing.
technology exists,
That's
and it's
exactly. That's
absolutely
exactly.
shocking. It's
That's exactly.
absolutely
No, that's
shocking.
what they're doing. That's what they're doing to us. They're doing
Well,
that right now to us.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be
For
surprised
instance,
if that
Trump
is
was
the
with
issue.
Putin,
Sure.
right? He was with Putin on this thing, and then basically I noticed that Putin kept like glitching, and then Trump was glitching a bit, and then I caught the people that were supposed to be like their entourage, whether they're whatever they are, they're just like a bunch of gangsters to be honest. But they really did keep glitching. I mean, literally going white, 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 and I'm thinking, that's it, it's done. This isn't fake. This is all fake. He never met Putin. They've made this for us. And I'm like, oh my God. It's not oh my God now, but I was like, when you keep seeing all this stuff and you realize there's no way back for me, I can't pretend any of it's real. It's not real. If you did it yourself, you'd know it wasn't real. But it is thousands of hours of looking at it. Like it's been for the last few years, thousands of hours.
Anything you're, why did, I've been telling people, I turned my TV off in 2003. Okay. I don't watch television except for maybe a few programs from time to time, a football game, things like that. Okay. I don't watch television. I've told people years and years ago, turn that shit off. You can actually see, you realize that, these screens that stare at us every day, that is a fake reality. That is a false reality. We're peering into these scrying mirrors every day, whatever you want to call them, that are showing us a world that that's telling us exists.
Yeah, it's just
But I'm
as fake
telling
as
you,
the
if you turn it off, okay, a lot of I often wonder, like, if we were all completely shut this down, the only reason this exists because whatever they are working on another form of consciousness or another dimension is what they do is basically, it's almost like their world being projected through these screens, and it's like we're watching and putting our energy into that. It's a way of filtering, okay, our time, our energy, and everything into their world. I'm saying that world is a false reality.
yeah. And
People
when you
don't
turn it
think the
off,
way.
and when
Not
you turn it off,
everybody.
you start thinking, don't you? And that's what happened to you.
I'm just saying that people are a little bit deceived, or a lot. Like, much of them are deceived because the problem is that we assume that that's always happening. We assume, how do we know for sure that all the stuff that we're seeing is not? You're telling me that the reporter standing there, okay, in Seattle while Seattle burns, you're telling me that that can't be a green screen? The weather lady who does a report at the beach, who's talking about things going. I'm sorry, but I was watching that on television one day. I walk into somebody's house, their TV's on. I look at the reporter. She says she's at the beach and she's reporting. I'm like, no, she's not. She's green screening that. That's not real. I point out, you can see it.
Yes,
I don't know if I'm just
Scarab,
broken away
Scarab.
from the
People
matrix.
really need to notice in the footage that if any of the footage is blurry behind the person talking, they're
Yeah,
never there. That is definitely a screen, but it
I'm
is a
telling
green
you,
screen. It
it is
is.
crazy. The
Yes, it
lights
is.
are on this lady. They got a fan blowing on her hair. You can see, I mean, when you break and all that, and I had to point it out to them. And as I
Yes,
pointed
I
it out to
agree.
them, they could see it. They're like, "Oh my God, you're right. It's not even real." I'm like, "That's
Well,
not real." I mean, but that's the fake illusionary reality that they project onto us. How do we know any
yeah,
of this shit is real? You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? We're not there. And my point is that we sort of like we in a sense put an emotional value to this stuff, and and that's how they control us, because this is how they spin and propagandize the media. And and I'm telling you that, most people don't believe the way the media tells you they do, because you know why? Because we don't speak to each other anymore, and now we're told to social distance even further. We're told to be locked down in our houses. This
Yes.
is an evil thing that's happening to everybody worldwide. And people need to realize that in fact, you should do the exact opposite of what they're telling you. 100%. And we need to reconnect with people. We need to talk again. We need to
Yeah.
share again and forget it.
No, I
Forget
would say.
the social media thing is, well, it's a disgusting deception is what it is.
Yes. I agree with you. I went out today and I went to some metholithic sites and churches and yew trees and long barrows with an archaeologist. That's where I went today. It was really good. I was really unfit. I nearly thought I was going to have a heart attack because I just don't walk anywhere because I'm shoved in here. I go bedroom, office, bathroom, kitchen, back. And this, we were on a walk and I was like, but anyway, I've been out today and I thoroughly enjoyed it because we don't want to be locked down. No one was there, just me and her. But
That's
we went out.
no, that's good, and that's what more people need to do. And like, my message ultimately, when it comes to all this and the Mandela effect and all the stuff that's happening, is obviously what I'm doing with social media and the computers and everything I'm looking at is my research. However, it is quite insane when I like put it all together, and it's like,
Can
well,
you, because I
oh,
stopped you talking, would you explain then to you
sure.
what is a Mandela effect?
Well, I've it's
Best as possible.
well, okay. So what I'm trying to do is think of the best way to describe it in a nutshell. Basically, the Mandela effect is defined as, memories that you once had that don't equate with the world today. They don't match up to things that you learned in school, or memories that you previously had. There is a complete and utter removal of those memories. However, you still have them. Um, and
Oh,
I mean memories in the,
Scarab,
yes.
Scarab. It sounds like we're in Blade. I keep saying it. We're the Blade Runners. It sounds like Blade Runners, and they're saying, "But I have these memories," and they're going, "No, we put them in you."
Hmm. Right. Well, no, and if you watch Dark City, that's another situation of the Mandela effect, where there is a force out there, and I believe, whether you want to believe in the, okay, so what they do in the movie, this is just an example, but in Dark City, you sleep at midnight.
Yeah.
And this is what's weird, is before I even remember Dark City, I don't know if it's from the movie and I have like a residual memory of something that's been implanted in my mind. But I know that I said to people, I said, I feel like something's happening about 3 a.m. in the morning. Now, that's at least here in America, because when I was,
Are
working,
you psychic?
what's that?
Are you psychic?
I don't know.
Carry on.
I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know. I just know that well, I've experienced some very incredible things in the last 4 years because of the Mandela effect. Not only because I'm talking about, spiritual happenings. I'm talking about visual things that I've seen, literally seeing the sky change, seeing the moon change, seeing like stuff happen to me. I've also witnessed the sky completely open up, where it looked like there were God. I don't want to describe it as God's fireworks. And I have witnesses to this event that took place somewhere about 2014, where there was a huge flash. And then, like, we all witnessed this flash. And then it was like we were just sitting there going, did you see that? What was that? And for a moment, it was like most amazing meteor shot, like things were falling from the sky as if the stars were falling. It was, and I have three witnesses to this that saw this happen. and
Wow.
and at that point in time, that very night, after that, we started noticing that in the sky, there were like a layer between the moonlight and the darkness. You could see something moving across the sky, like almost like a bird, but it was, I'd say it's very fast, you know? And I said, did you, and I'm thinking, I said, did I see that? So I asked my roommates, I said, are you seeing that stuff in the sky from time to time? They go, you mean the things that look like birds? And I said, yes. Does it look like we're seeing like another reality or something? Like, what are we seeing? And then they said, they said, okay, let's do this test. We all agreed. If we see it, we'll call it out. That way it's not just us, you or me or whatever, just having a glitch or maybe something in our eye. So we sat there and we watched the sky. And I said, let's focus our energy into this area of the sky. We all focused our energy and we would see these things going across the sky. And I thought, and we'd all call it out at the same time. You see it? Yeah, I saw it. I was like, what the hell is going on here? And about that time, people started saying, you know, we're getting, I don't know, is it true? Is it not? I don't know. Cities in the sky, you know, like some sort of imagery of another city that was literally layered on top of us. That's what it seemed like. Sometimes there are layers to life.
They're using harp. You know what harp is, don't you?
I don't know what, listen, you know what? Harp could be something that tests the boundaries of this world. Maybe it's trying to figure out the
Probably isn't even there.
multi-dimensional
It's come from a
reality.
different civilization, the ones that were here
I'm
before.
telling you, it appears that there are multiple dimensions to our world based off what I've discovered in the Mandela effect. How this is all working, I can't tell you. If it's God, it was, you know, it's been, you know,
But I
God's
tell you what
plan
it
from the
might be.
beginning.
I tell you what it might be. What it is he's gone, this channel now, and I really like this channel. It's called the Boogeyman channel. And we had some
Mhm.
hangouts with him, and he said basically up there they've got tetherings with the sun and the moon, and they've tethered. So if you're going to call space anything, that's where it is. It's only it's not that far above our heads, and they're tethering themselves to these
Well,
lines that the moon and the sun make, and you might be watching those things tethered to it.
I'm not saying things tethered. I'm telling you that they were literally flapping their wings. They were like prehistoric birds, or birds. Like something was,
Oh right,
I'm telling you,
oh
it's not a
right,
tether. There's
right.
nothing tethered.
I see what you're
I don't know how they
saying.
would even, I don't believe in this idea that the sun is not what we think it is. It's not this nuclear furnace anyway.
No,
It comes from counter space. It is, it is exactly, they don't even listen. Science will tell you all this, like give you all this information, like, oh, it's this nuclear ball of energy. It's not that.
no.
It's completely different. It is coming from another source. This is
Listen, you
why.
know, a
This
few
is
years
why.
ago, NASA announced that the moon was
Mhm.
in our atmosphere. So if it's
Yeah. Well,
250,000
that's what I
miles
mean,
away, it
because
could not be in our atmosphere.
the layers of reality are coming together. And this is where I saw in the Mandela effect. Like, in my opinion, okay, what I noticed was in certain effects, they have messages in them, in my opinion. So
Yes,
what you would see is like in the word, okay? So the
numbers.
logo change for certain companies, where you'll see a merging of letters where the O's now intersect and make a Vesica Pisces symbol. Okay, so each circle represents a world. Okay, and it shows a merging of the two worlds coming together. That's why we have different memories, in my opinion, of different things that we remember from when we were a child, or when we remember as a young adult. Things change, just like Australia. Absolutely, 100% for me.
Do you know
There
a
was
film that
it
they did
was
it really
Sydney,
good in? They did
huh?
it good in. It's Jacob's Ladder. That film, they was just an experiment on the people, that was, because you could make so many different answers from it. But they were
Well,
just playing their games. Jacob's, and it was called Jacob's Ladder.
Well, that's biblical, right? So
Mm,
so you see, um, yeah, Jacob's ladder, correct. The ladder. Why is it so much symbology? The masons and everything else always depict, like the pillars, something holding
you know
up
what? 100
another
years ago,
world.
they might not have
Mhm.
been as bad. They've been taken over, and in the late 1800s, these
Well,
people were different, and they're reporting all this stuff, and somebody I know, Nigel, he's got this book on it. It's a Mason book, and they're reporting it so differently. They must have just been infiltrated and taken over.
Well, anytime you have information that can free humanity, of course it would be taken over. They're never
That
just
is
going to give you.
true.
I mean, they'll even what Jesus came here to
We
do
had a hangout about it.
is not necessarily.
We've shown the pages from the book. We've shown
Yeah.
the pages from the book. So we've shown that it's real. Well, it's really written. But you just can't trust anything. That's it. You look at it and you go, well, I can't trust
Well,
that. That's what we immediately say now, because you can't trust anything really.
you have to test everyone in the spirits. So you
Yeah.
must understand that you can't just take people at face value. You have to trust them in the spirit. You have to take it to the spirit. It's the only way to test a person's heart.
What a nice man you are.
Well, yeah, I'm only speaking the truth, because in this crazy time period, we are being COINTELPRO'd and deceived and even our favorite YouTube channels aren't what you think they are. I was approached by these people and I was asked to be a part of their group. I tell people this story all the time. Like, I was given the opportunity to be one of them, when I was up and coming. And I had a lot of people around me, that were very influential all of a sudden. And, my numbers were going up and they were going, but, I guess, I didn't play ball, right? People from New York call me. They tell, they're giving me, an opportunity to join these networks. And when I would ask questions,
people along our
I would
journey.
ask questions. I was like, what is this all about? Why do you want me to be a part of your group? What do you do? And what I found based off my own research is that they have influencers that they hire. And these are people with high, you have to have, they're looking for a certain trait in people. They're looking for the ego. They're looking for people that just are just going to do whatever it takes to be. Yeah, they want narcissistic, egotistical people that care nothing more than just their fame and love themselves. That's what they want. And then and I promise you, sign up with those people, hey, your channel starts getting exposure. You start getting more views. You start making more money. You start getting doors start to open up. I promise you that would have happened for me, but I didn't accept the deal. I didn't want to be a part of it because I knew ultimately what it is they tell you, okay, well, we love what you're doing, but we just want you to, from time to time, help promote certain ideas. So what that means is now I'm owned because now I have to promote their ideas or spin it in a way, And also I was going to be on radio. I don't want to name them, but they were going to invite, I was being talked to about being on a radio program, major radio program. And they said, listen, Dan, we don't mind what you talk about, but we don't want you talking about Jesus. Now, of all the people that I'm not supposed, really now, I mean, it's okay. You didn't say Muhammad, you didn't say Buddha, but I'm not supposed to talk about Jesus. Isn't that weird? They single out one person. Don't you think that's a little odd? Like, I'm sorry, but with the Bible changes in the Mandela effect, I'm certainly going to bring up Jesus. And so I don't see why you would want to isolate, millions and millions of people around the world who follow Jesus
We
Christ.
found people along our way, very influential, big channel. And he talking to us about masses of stuff, and then he stopped. You never know anymore whether these people are got at.
Well, I would be very leery of certain. Look, I've been producing now for over 4 years, making videos, increasing my knowledge and understanding. And the way I do it is just trying to get out there and speak. Listen, if I'm talking to people, I find it interesting that there's people that will turn on the camera and never act like humans. They literally have all the information. They never pause. They never stop.
They don't. They talk the talk. They talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk.
It's unbelievable to me. Like, people think that they're getting real information from these people. It's like, do you understand what it's like to be human anymore? We have thoughts. We have to think. We have to pause. I mean, but they get on camera and it's just blah 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 blah, and I have all the information and listen to me, blah 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 blah, and it's like, well, now hold on a second, I it sounds, the only way to do that, to speak like that, is to be well rehearsed,
You're
is to
correct, 'cause you don't
have
know,
is
you
to
don't have
have a
sources there
script.
anymore.
Yeah, like, we forget, like, that's not the way. Have you not have we forgotten what it was like to be in circles and talk? Well, I think we have, because nowadays when you go in public or you go to the local coffee shop, you don't sit there and talk, at least not in America. We sit here and look at our damn phones. We don't talk to the
Yeah.
guys sitting next to us. We have forgotten what it's like to have normal human communications.
And do you
And
know where it's
now,
leading? It's leading to martial law and taking your guns. Because once you're in martial law, you won't be able to use your guns. Wish
I'm
people would wake
afraid.
up and realise what's really going on.
Well, I want to tell you something. I don't know what all this is. I'm going to go off my gut, and that's what I usually go with, because, like I said, you asked me if I'm psychic. I don't claim to be anything. Okay, I just claim to be a normal man who has experienced what I've experienced, and I'll tell you what I experienced. I am not here to act like I am an angel or a prophet or anything like that. I've never made those claims at all. All I can tell you is the truth from my perspective and how I've witnessed life.
Mm.
Okay. Now, I lay that out there because I realize that other people experience bizarre things too. And I think all of us sharing our experiences is what really is important in this time period. However, when this all happened, my first initial gut reaction is that we were entering the tribulation time. We were entering the tribulation in the Bible. That my first thought was that this is the 7-year, this is it. This is the 7-year period. Okay. There's something. And right about the time of the Mandela effect, that I had multiple people come to me and tell me that they had dreams of a rapture event that didn't happen, but they remember seeing people being taken off of the earth in the beginning of the Mandela effect. And I thought, well, that's sort of how it happens. People get removed, and then the 7-year tribulation happens. And at the end of that is a return. So based off my timeline, we're about midway into the tribulation period, and this is where it's supposed to get really rough. And all of a sudden, we've got a sham election in the United States. We've got 30,000 troops in Washington. We have missile defense systems. We have troop movements all over. We have Italians government is falling. We have Netherlands government looks like it's about to fall over shams and
It's Germany
scams
as
and all.
well. Someone
I
was
mean,
telling
all
me
this
about Germany.
yeah. So in Revelation, listen, this is all weird stuff, and it's, I know for a lot of people, they're, oh, that Bible, but I'm telling you,
Can I tell you something,
yeah,
Scarab? What we've
yeah,
noticed is that it's almost as if over time they said, you don't want to believe in astrology, it's a load of rubbish, and only hippies are like that. So most of the people go, well, that's the end of it. Most people just don't look at it. Then you start looking at astrology and realizing that they are using the astrology. They are using numbers and figures and astrology. So the things that make it, it's a joke, they're using. So they're using numbers and
right.
figures, astrology, and the
Well,
Bible. And the Bible.
I,
They're using it.
I don't really get into all of that much. I mean, I pay attention to everything. I'm not one of those, and I don't even claim to really be a Christian, because what Christians have become, frankly, disgust me, because they have just sold out to a new idea. They're not, by the Spirit, I think, walking in the true light of God. I think a lot of them have done it and it's become a big social circle. I mean, you go to church, you sit there, you drink lattes, you have to act a certain way, be a certain way. There's a lot of pressure, to conform. And that's the thing. If they understood their Bibles, they understood Jesus was the last thing, or the last thing about conformity. Jesus was there to shake things up. The truth about Jesus is he was there to wake people up. For God's sakes, he gave so many people, he gave them the ability to see. He cured men of their
I
blindness. Now,
think
I
I
often
think that
wondered
book,
if
that's
that,
exactly
if
it,
that,
yeah.
I
exactly
wonder
that.
if curing people of their blindness was waking them up to the reality that they were a part of. Now, I'm not saying he didn't cure men of blindness, but I'm saying oftentimes when said, I often think, how do they mean that terminology? Do they mean that Jesus allowed them to finally to wake them up? Because I believe that's what he was doing, was waking up the masses, okay, to the illusion that they were living in and the false doctrine that they were following. Because he said some pretty poignant things. Now we get to the point where here we are in America. We get to the point where it says that in the end times that the church will become the whore of Babylon, meaning it will be corrupted. We're starting to see the Vatican. There's a lot of reports about the Vatican and who these popes are and the way. And I believe that this evil has been entrenched
Are
in
they
our world. And
imploding on themselves? Are they
yeah,
imploding on? Yeah, they are. Oh, please. But
there's
the thing is,
all kinds
every
of
time
moves
it's
being
said,
made. I'm telling you, while moves are being made, there's also things working on other levels too to expose and to finally get out information that is going to be very shocking for people once they see it.
but
I
don't you
mean,
think it's really crazy that we know that there's masses of lies going on? We know that
yeah.
they lie to us and all this, and they still carry on, and nobody's. Because do you know what's really weird? In 2019, there was a military games, like an Olympic Games in Wuhan, October 1999, a few months before we get the virus. So
Mhm.
whoever thinks that China's not in, they are in on it. Whatever's happening is just one big fat game. All of
Well,
it's just a
apparently
game.
you got Obama visiting Wuhan back in the day. You have Fauci saying the virus is coming in 2017. They all know it. They all know it. Now, some people think that Trump is a genius and that he actually knows about their plan. And a lot of people wonder, and they all ask me, they say, well, you know, is Trump in on it too? Are we being played on both sides? There's a possibility of that, of course, because we must always, keep our guard up. However, I often wonder sometimes if, because of Trump's dealings with all these people and rubbing elbows with some of the elites, let's say, because, obviously a man with that kind of money has much influence, right? And I said to people, I was like, is this a situation where somebody bad has to expose the evil? Because truly good people would never believe the types of things that are going on. And
Can I just say one thing to you,
we're talking
Scarab?
about we're talking about the
Scarab,
pedophilia and everything
Scarab.
else.
Yeah,
Yes.
Scarab. It goes a long way back. It goes back before Fred Astaire. They've just got their plans and their games. They are just completely like this is treason and what
Mm-hmm.
they're doing with television. And if people turn that television off, they start thinking, I did, I haven't I only watch footage for my channel, and most of the time I don't ever hear it because I don't want to hear Trump. I don't want to hear them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And like if people can't see that Nancy Pelosi, it's all a game and a joke, and the joke's on you.
Yeah.
These aren't politicians. I mean, the other day I put this video up. It was just so funny. It just made me really, really laugh. It was basically Trump and Obama. But I mean, how he listened to both of them, I just don't know. So we already know that Obama's lying about bin Laden. And then he's going, it's a military thing. And you've got Trump just, he's a dog. It's just the ridiculousness from one man to the other. And that you're
Well,
listening
it
to,
makes
he doesn't
it's
sound
like,
very good in this video.
if
He
he
sounds
really knows
stupid.
this. So my question is, yeah. So if he really knows all this, they say that, oh, he's setting a trap for him. He's doing all this. Okay, all right.
They've all got the same
Let's
boss.
just. Well, I know, and like I said, I'm just giving you, the scenarios that people put out there. I'm not saying I believe one way or the other because I'm not sure. Because at this point in the game, I'm starting to believe that we're all being played, and I'm starting to think that that and I pray. Listen, I've never I don't think I've prayed more in the last 2 weeks about just the world and the exposure of the
Yeah,
evil
because
that's
you
out
can
there
feel it, can't
and
you?
to finally like
Scarab,
I'm
Scarab, you can feel it, can't you? You can feel
of
it.
course I can. Of
I do
course I
too.
can. We all do. Those who are in touch with us know what is going down. We are not stupid. We just the only problem is how who is on our is there somebody on our side in an earthly manner? And God, I pray there is. I pray that these people are exposed, because the sickness that has woven itself into our politics, in our media, in our lives, it has to end. Or, and this is why I think God finally steps in, because I think at certain points God steps in and says, okay, enough is enough. And that's what I pray for. I pray
Can
that
I say
God
something?
steps in on this, because really, I don't
Scarab.
see humanity. Listen, one second. I don't see really humanity uh, having much of a chance if they control what we think, what we eat, what we do, what we breathe, and how we interact. We don't have a chance. I mean, for the free people that we strive to be are going to be crushed. Look what they just did to, like, just alone, anybody who I get it. I know why you don't like Trump. I get it. He's a pompous asshole. I get it. He's a misogynistic jerk. Sure. But the way they clamp down on his free speech, okay, should be a wake-up call to the rest of the world, okay, that this machine, this thing that we're working against is
Scarab.
if it's big enough to shut down the president of the United States, who the hell are you? Okay,
Scarab.
everyone should be on that side. Yeah.
Scarab. It's not true. He's just doing the script. That character, whether it's virtual reality or a real person, they're just doing the script. They all have the same boss.
No, but
He
I'm
is,
saying but it doesn't
but
matter.
yes,
It
you know what
doesn't
that
matter.
shows?
It
It shows if
matters
they can
nothing.
shut a
It doesn't
president
matter
down.
if he's fake. It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is
Yeah, it means
they're
they don't
laying it.
care about
They're telling
us. They
you.
don't
They're
care about
they're
you.
telling
They
you the
don't care about
power that they
anybody.
have. But they're telling you
Because,
about the power they have. I'm
yes,
telling you that if you think for 1 second that the rest of us have a chance, even if it's all scripted, let's say it's scripted, fine. It's scripted. But if it's a script, they're telling you what your future holds. There it is in front of you. Total censorship.
when you
You
shut a
better
president down,
you better do what we say, or you're going to be deplatformed. Your channel's going to be shadow banned. You're going to
yeah,
get, kicked off of social media. You're going to So basically, oh, and by the way, if you don't have these tools and you're not out there, then companies, you won't get a job, you won't be able to travel. You see what I'm saying? They're going to
yes.
restrict everything. And by the way, read your Bibles, people. Read Revelations. Check it out. That stuff's all in there. Okay? About the coming of the new world, of this global government that's supposed to be taking shape. So if I'm right, my initial gut reaction was right, which, believe me, I pray every day I'm wrong. I hope I'm not, I'm wrong. I hope it doesn't go the way of the Bible, because Revelations and the idea of the tribulation, that 7-year period, that first 3 years is no big deal. It's the 3.5 years is no big deal. The 3.5 after that
Scarab, Scarab,
is awful.
I don't think they finished with us yet, because at the
Well,
moment it's political stuff with China, right? But I think
right.
they could turn it into a war. They're never going to remember. What I'm saying is, if it's
Well,
turned into a war, they're never going to put the tyranny that they've put us in already. That won't be mentioned really.
all I
It'll
have
just be
to
leading up to war.
I hate to tell you this, and I like I said, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but if you're right and I'm right, and like I said, I'm giving you ideas of perhaps different timelines that are different paths that this may go. The path of the last 3.5 years, which ironically seems interesting to me because there's a lot to those dates that are coming up. But nonetheless, looking at that and going forward, if you thought your life was tough for the
Yeah,
last 3.5 years, you
we're only
haven't seen
just in the beginning.
anything.
Yeah, we're only just in the
Yeah.
beginning of this.
Oh
What happens
man,
in a few years' time?
you've got to stay strong. You got to stay strong in the spirit. I'm telling you, yes,
Scarab, they could be
yeah.
telling you that we don't have any food in our shops, but we do. The thing is, I find that really strange that I can go to Tesco's and it looks like none of my life has changed. Everything is filled up. We can buy bacon,
It is
chips,
now.
whatever.
For
Right? We
now.
can buy all that.
For
You can go to
now,
a bigger one and
you
buy.
start
You can go
getting
to a
into
bigger one
the
and buy
problem is,
clothes. You can buy
listen to
clothes
me.
there in that one.
Yeah.
And You
for now.
can't go down your high streets. It's all shut up because they can't sell any clothes. But the supermarket where you're buying your food can
Well,
sell
why is it the
clothes.
mom and pop places have to shut down when I can go to Walmart here in America and walk around 200 people super spreading like a mofo, and that's no problem. I can get in there and buy and touch
You
everything.
can see which
I can lick,
corporations
I
went
can
with
lick
the
shopping
government.
carts. I can do all that stuff, yet and spread the virus like crazy. But oh, mom and pop needs to shut down because they say 50 people might walk through that door today. I mean, don't you see that this is a huge sham? This is a
Yes,
sham.
yes.
I mean, on humanity, man. We got to wake up. We got, and of course, I think either, this is what I'm saying. Like, there's a big reveal coming. Now, is this reveal going to be a new dawn, a new awakening? Well, I pray it will be. But there's also part of me that's starting to say, we might have to just really, take it on the
You know
chin
what?
here.
You know what it feels like when you look at
Yeah.
history? Oh, America, Russia all have revolutions. They're not heading us towards a revolution because we are, even if they're narcissists, we're still peaceful people. They shut us down two times now, without one officer, without one soldier. We're peaceful. And what they're going to do is they're going to make a fake war or whatever they're going to do, and people are going to believe it.
Well,
Like,
if you read
listen,
your
the gas
Bible,
tanker ran to my house the other day, and
it's
he basically
people.
was like, "Get away from me!" And then it was like, "I
Yeah.
know people that have died from it," and you're going, "No, they didn't." And he said, in the end,
Jesus.
he had to leave my house because he didn't like it. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I only told you the truth.
Well, Jesus said that there will be wars and rumors of wars. He said those will be the signs. Jesus explained this. He said, he told us, in the end times that this would happen.
Oh, you
He
don't
said that
think
there
they're
would be
reading the
changes in
Bible
the
for us,
sun.
do you?
Listen, Jesus, listen, I can pretend and I can lie. I can not lie. I wouldn't be telling you the truth. I could just, I can pretend like, oh, what I see isn't really what I see. And it doesn't equate with the Bible. That would be a complete lie. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to walk in here and tell you, oh, you all need to read your Bibles. I'm not here to tell you that. I'm here to tell you that this was laid out a long time ago for us. And there are some things in the Bible. Now, maybe there's some things that don't need to be in there and they're not true or whatever. You can make I'm not here to get into a debate on did the Romans change the Bible or whatever. I'm just here to tell you that when Jesus said you will see changes in the sun, the moon, in the stars, okay, I'm here to tell you and proclaim to you right now that I've seen these things. Okay, I saw that. That's what made me begin looking back at the Bible when the changes in the Mandela effect occurred. Then we started noticing changes in the Bible itself. And then people were freaking out, going, we can't trust the Bible. I said, no, that is not the message. The message is that we should understand the wording in the Bible because the word is always the truth. And when the word changes to newer things, that's telling you that to me, the way I feel about it, when the Bible changes and it says that a wolf now, okay, all right, will dwell with the lamb, meaning, okay, the lamb is represented as well, essentially the peace that comes to mankind. However, there's a wolf now instead of a lion. The lion represented as Judah. The Lion of Judah was Jesus. So every Christian out there who's done any research should understand that, of course, it can't be a wolf, but it is. Every Bible in this world now says there's a wolf dwelling. Doesn't say it's
Can I tell you
laying.
something?
It
Can I
tells
tell
you
you
the wolf
something?
is dwelling over
Scarab,
us. Yes.
Scarab. The most disgusting thing is when I wrote to the president, right? There
Mm.
is no one to write to. There's no one to take any of these complaints to. You
No.
think you've got these layers of ombudsmans and all these things, but it's all
Yeah.
rubbish. There is no one to write to. There is no one to help us.
No, it's just like how can you have multi-billion-dollar companies with they're in so this is what the this is so funny to me. It's comical. So you have a grievance that you need to air, and you're talking about this is a social media company, yet they are totally lacking in social media. So if you have a problem with Google or YouTube, you can't talk to anybody. In fact, you don't exist unless you have 100,000 subscribers, and then
Yeah.
you get access to a person, as if I'm sorry, like, I'm not a person yet until my social media reaches a certain
I
plateau.
was monetized on one of my
Oh
channels.
my god.
You did get a layer of them, but the moment what it is they're trained like, uh-oh, she's not asking
Uh,
me about a
well,
login
I
name
not in
and stuff like that.
America.
She's
You don't get to talk
conspiracy.
to.
She's conspiracy. Don't talk to her. She's conspiracy.
Well,
That's how
I
they're
didn't even
trained.
get a chance. I've never
Everybody,
talked to anybody. In
you
fact,
can't ask anything.
the only time I've ever spoken to anybody, YouTube wise, is through a little pop up menu, pop up chat thing, where I was able to
Yeah.
talk to. But
I've
it's not
asked
readily
for the man.
available.
I've asked for the chief executive's email address to write to her, and they wouldn't give it to me three
Uh,
or four
you're
times
not
now.
kidding. They put themselves behind, listen, one thing to all your listeners, remember, if you're doing good, you're gonna walk in the light. If you're doing evil, you walk in the darkness. Period. Okay. These people hide in the darkness like cockroaches. They don't even, they never come into the light. And if the light ever shines on
No.
them, they scurry away because they don't want you. Okay, they don't want to hear from you. They don't want to be influenced by you. They don't want to hear your grievance. They have their own agenda, and it has nothing to do with you. You are nothing to them. You are just a commodity. Just you're something that they use basically to keep their platform alive. But they could give two shits about you, the smaller channels that are out there talking or whatever. Now, once you make it to the 100,000 mark, and you know you're doing videos about, I don't know, whatever, ASMR, or doing the makeup tutorials and stuff like that, and creating drama, all that stuff. If you're doing those videos, yeah, they'll talk to you then because you're not a threat. You're not somebody's going to ask questions. You know what I'm saying?
Thing is, I've
And you
never known
obviously,
anything as strange as this platform that
yeah.
says that you cannot have. I mean, although we're talking, we're not mentioning names, so they can't get us for any of that thing, hopefully. But basically, how can they take that right away? YouTube is called YouTube because it was supposed to be about the people talking. When I first joined YouTube, you could see dogs being skinned. That was okay to watch that, and then not to get a strike. I was horrified. I was
Well,
horrified before I really knew what
YouTube's
YouTube was.
it's a sick,
And then I become a YouTuber.
yeah.
And then now you're not allowed to say anything. You're not even allowed to have an opinion to say, well, and now they've got it that, well, if you say you're trying to give someone a remedy, you can be striked for that. Then you've got all these people talking about narcissism. So I think, well, they're giving information. So they're giving stuff out to people. Well, I've noticed,
Uh,
I think they've cut all their views down. That's what I've seen them do. Because for that very reason, they've made sure
there's
that
a
they all
lot
get
of
and then they
what I
cut
call
their.
them. Yeah. Okay. So what they have is what I call them YouTube provocateurs. Now, amongst the truth community, there were channels that were
There's
putting
no
out.
way they want really any. They don't want all these people telling people what narcissists are, and most people because they don't realize. Well, they do say once you turn into one, it's really hard not to be one. But
Well,
I'm the empath.
narcissism is well. That's funny
I'm
because,
sure you're an empath.
well, listen, the whole thing about narcissistic personalities and things like that is really interesting because if you go back and, like, I don't know, I may have just lived too long on this earth, and I just realized that I've seen the changes, over, my tenure here. So when you look at narcissism and you see it, uh, sort of manifest itself so much in the last, say, 10 years, you
Hmm.
start to realize that it's I don't know if it's, I think sometimes narcissistic behaviors and things like that has a lot to do with the spiritual influences of people that are getting, they don't even, people don't even know, they don't even realize the spirit, how the spirit world works and how it actually influences your life. you know those times, if you've ever been in a situation where you have all of a sudden you received a thought in your head like that was so not you and so jacked up and so dark that you were like, wait a minute, why did I think that? That is where you're being influenced. This is where people don't understand that things do attach to you. Maybe it's the David Icke situation where he talks about these things that attach to people. The odd part about that is I was sent a picture once of a woman on a CCD camera, my friend's friend's wife, and there was this thing It looked like a entity. It almost looked sort of like almost. I would say I would describe it as like a Yeti or a Bigfoot, something like that. It was literally like behind her hair, sniffing her. Like I'm not kidding you. Like it was like right up on her back. This thing. Now one would say, well, that's probably the film or the camera, but it wasn't her shape. It was a completely different shape, and it
Have
looked
you
like.
stopped the footage?
Oh yes, I have the picture.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
Somebody sent me something once, and I was absolutely horrified. It must be something that Google are doing.
Mm.
Basically, it was a weather, it was a hurricane, and this hurricane went through this person's house, and they said slow it down and watch what happens. Oh my God! All these things came up like boxes, symbols, people, ugly faces. So same sort of thing. Like they suddenly like I stopped this this Victorian footage, and suddenly there is a dog, but it's not really there, but it's there. You can see the dog. So I blow it. I said, look, there's a
Yeah.
dog. It's the
Interesting, isn't
same
it?
thing. They stuck
Well,
a Bigfoot in.
anytime you have hurricanes, that again, that's. Let me just tell you from my research on this. So hurricanes, natural events like volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, these are all supernatural in to some degree. They explain them away as, oh, it's tectonic plates and they're shifting, and you have the Earth's crust, and you have this molten lava that comes up over, and all these forces working below us that create these events. But here's the problem. There was a hurricane called Harvey in the USA down in Houston. Now this is incredible. This hurricane came in to the Gulf of Mexico, went in to land, then went back out, back in, back out, then to Houston, then sat there in the same place for 3 days, churning, never moving, just sat there, I've never in my life seen hurricanes. People are like, oh my God, that's the HARP technology. That's weather modification. Okay. I don't know if they have the ability to steer these things or not. I can almost, I can almost relate to that. I get it. However, what I'm going to tell you happened after that hurricane left is incredible. There was another bay in Houston, the Houston area in Texas. There was always, and I mean, and I will say, I've lived in Texas almost my whole life. I lived in California. Okay. I was born in Las Vegas, Sin City. All right. And I moved to Hollywood. I stayed in Hollywood until I was like 9 years old. And I moved to Texas. Okay. 9 or 10. So I know all about Texas history. And I know all about Houston area. I have friends in Houston. I've been down there. There is this large bay now. And oddly enough, you know what the name of the bay is called? This bay.
What's that?
Okay. So there's two bodies of water. One is Galveston Bay. And then above it now, this massive opening of water, there is now a place called Trinity Bay. Who the hell has ever heard of Trinity? It blows me away because it's local to me. This Mandela effect, this change in the world, blew me away. And I said, and I've been saying, when the hurricane came through the Bahamas and ripped up the Bahamas a few years ago, the Bahamas moved. The Bahamas now are below Florida. Like the main island is below Florida. I'm like, that island was just across from Florida. There are so many moves being made with hurricanes. And when I'm telling you, when these effects happen, I don't know if this is something to do with the merging or something happening between realities or different layers. I don't understand it right now. All I can tell you is that when I talk to eyewitnesses who've been through earthquakes, and they tell me that their garage floor turned into liquid because they went through an 8.0 earthquake in their town in California. And this is an eyewitness. I know that I know this person personally. And they said, Dan, it was the craziest thing ever. I walked out to my garage and the garage floor looked like water. And I said, that's impossible. It's concrete. It's
You
got,
mean like that person we saw on?
how can How can something like that, how could concrete wave? She said it was moving like water. I said, there's no way that can happen. The energy that's being expanded is doing something to, in my opinion, it's like there's a rift in reality, like something's being ripped
Is
open.
that how we got our mud floods?
Probably. Like I'm saying, like there's new history and there's a merging going on between, in my opinion, there could be multiple ones. I believe there's probably like 3 different layers happening right now, sort of all above and below each other. And so what's happening, it seems to be like a merging going on where these different realities are sort of taking shape instantaneously. So now we have this new history of Tartaria. Who's ever heard? My God, the biggest thing ever is the star forts. Oh my
Yeah,
God. If you haven't looked into star forts, look
we
into,
have.
you should see these massive, massive castles. And then, but wait, it's more than the star fort itself. Look at the amount of land that's moved around the star fort to emulate the star fort, to create the moats and to create like it. They're
Yeah, like how did they do
unbelievable.
that?
How the hell did they move? Some of these are so massive that they rival, in my opinion, the engineering of the Great Pyramid at Giza. They are incredible. Not to mention the Great Pyramid of Giza.
Amsterdam is one.
Yes. Huh?
Amsterdam is one.
Oh, which one is that?
Amsterdam in Holland.
Mm, Amsterdam and Holland. Okay. I'm not really sure which one. You're talking about the Star Fort?
Yeah. The
Oh.
whole of Amsterdam is a star fort.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah,
Is
just
it
look
really?
afterwards. Look up Amsterdam.
Okay.
And yeah, I never thought of it.
Amsterdam, Star Fort. Well, then you have to ask yourself, come on. These were built during the Dark Ages. How in the
Yeah, they
hell
were
did they
far
have the
more advanced
manpower
than
to
we
move?
are. They were
Yeah.
far more advanced. My friend Gillian, she said, I just cannot believe that they were sitting there with a bit of parchment paper, a candle, and a little pen with a feather on the top, writing out
Oh,
what they'd done to it. They had to be far more advanced. They've taken a lot of the technology away. I came across this video, which I put on my channel, and it said the Victorian times, 1898. You've got these Victorians on a revolving platform. You know, the pavements are moving, and they think, how could those people have built that? There's no way that that pavement fits in with them.
there
And
was a
then
different.
actually, when I
There's a
break the
different.
footage down,
Oh yeah, that's that one right there. Starfort in the Netherlands is one of the
yeah,
most unbelievable thing. I remember that seeing that one. And if you look at that one, I mean, you have to look this up. I think it's let's see what the name of it is. Starfort in the Netherlands, built during the 80-year war. Yeah, built during a war, sure. Okay. I don't believe any of that. And it's funny is that when I first started looking into this, there was only a handful of pictures on the internet of these things, and now they're everywhere. Now,
mm,
what's really interesting is they sort of have the same shape as oh Dr. Emoto, when he did
mm,
his testing on water and he did the frequencies and he put like sound or he put thought or impressions of prayer into something, he could freeze the water and then see these beautiful patterns. They reflect, in my opinion, a lot of that type of pattern that Dr. Emoto got out of the freezing water in some ways, in some regard. You can see this stuff, and it's really interesting because when he and oddly enough, I think one of the, you have to go back and look at the different thoughts or the prayers that were put in the water and then frozen. But when you look at this, I think one of them is love, and when you look at the shape of love, okay, that's depicted, it looks like the star fort, like this is the most incredible thing ever. But really, people need to realize that you were talking about men with very rudimentary tools and maybe horses and things like that. How do you excavate? How do you excavate this kind of land and move it like? I
yeah.
mean, we're talking about, this is a massive
And
undertaking.
where's
I
the
don't.
earth that they took away?
Where is all the earth that they took away? It's unbelievable, and that's what I'm saying is, guys, you have to realize that this world is spiritual, like they say in Ephesians. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but of principalities, of spiritual wickedness in the air. We understand that there is a spiritual battle going on. And I think that what we're seeing in the Mandela effect itself and all the stuff we're seeing is sort of that manifestation happening and also being unveiled for us. So what I say to people is, as God gets nearer to us, as God gets closer, you and me and everyone else who sees a Mandela effect, because as it states in the Bible, God's people are a peculiar people. And as we get closer to, and whether you know it or not, you should be very thankful you see the Mandela effect, because what you are being shown and given is a gift, because you are getting to see God's handiwork. Okay, while others are in the dark and just going along to get along, you are being given a front row seat to God's handiwork on earth. And many changes are being made for various reasons. Not for you. We might be able to see it, but that change isn't necessary for you or me
Do you
or
think
anybody
that's
else.
because of
It
what
could
they've
be for
done to us?
particular people.
Because
What's that?
basically, like earlier on, okay, you're not sure which way you believe, but just say I believe we're flat, and someone else doesn't. They believe we're on a globe. So that reality on a globe is totally
But
different to the. That's two
well,
realities. Yeah.
well, I mean, in all honesty, I mean, those lies by science, whether it's flat or round or something else, does it, in my
Do
opinion,
you know what it's like,
it matters
Darren?
nothing. The problem, let me just say one thing real quick. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I
No,
have to
it's okay.
say this. The flat earth movement, okay, was not started by good people. It was not started with people that had your best interest at heart. It was started, in my opinion, it was a co-op and a co-intel movement. At first, I didn't believe it was, but I started looking at the cast of characters in the Flat Earth movement, and then I looked how they went to the infighting. Then I looked how they put everybody in groups and camps, and then they divided all of us. It was. I'm telling you, this was like an intel psyop on the highest levels with layers of truth. Okay, they did use some truth, but they wanted to go in there and they wanted to break everybody down because they wanted to give somebody, they started the movement. Think about it. All the people they started in the movement all became wildly successful on YouTube without any problem. And they had a person for every demographic. You had your Jaronism for the millennials. You had your Mark Sargent for the Gen Xers. You had your Eric Dubé for the New Agers. I mean, they all came out at the same, literally almost the same time. Then, if you were really fringe, you were listening to Matt Powerland. You were listening to all these groups, and then they all began to infight with each other. First, Mark Sargent's a shill. Eric Dubé's a shill. Now, Matthew Powerland, oh, he's got to be a shill because he's a nutball. Well, that may be true. I think they all were. I think the whole thing was one big psyop. However, you can't have a good psyop if you don't you got to give some truth. So within the movement, it did put it out there, and you have other channels out there that started putting out good information, at least started asking the question about real science. And well, my question to all flat earth, and what I think is one of the strangest things, was that when I was growing up, and I was, and I was totally into, stars and everything else. And I thought NASA was legit. All that stuff. I had never heard in any of my science classes growing up that the moon, if you're in the moonlight of the moon, it's colder than if you're in the shadow of the moon. That's what brought me to YouTube in the first place. I was blown away by that crazy fact. Is this a Mandela thing? Is it like just a new, because, obviously the moon looks a bit different for many of us. So does the sun. A lot of people remember the sun not being so intense and being more yellow. A lot of people remember the stars in the sky being in a different order. Also, uh, they're much bigger and much more, in my opinion, magnified. That's, again, a change in the sun, the moon, the stars, just as Jesus said. So we have all this stuff that we're, that we're seeing right now. And
Can
I
I say
believe,
something,
yes,
Scarab?
yeah,
If you're, say you're a globe believer and you believe
uh,
that they've told you that those stars are light years away, you look
well, they're
up and
not.
maybe they look light years away, but
Uh-huh.
actually you can only focus for so many miles in your eyesight. So if you can
Uh-huh.
see them, if you can see them in your eyesight, they are not that far away. They're
Well,
within
the
five
stars aren't
miles.
that, because this is what, and I don't know, like, I don't know the whole psyop to it all. Like, was it meant to just, create this movement? Because, I mean, come on, what conspiracy theorists get on ABC News and do an interview? I mean, did they ever interview anybody? Like, really? I mean, like, they go to the conference and they interview Mark Sargent, and how did these people who came from virtually nowhere, Mr. Mark Sargent, I'm a video game programmer, nobody's ever heard of you in the truth community, you pop up with, oh, I know how the flat Earth works. Really? I mean, come on, man.
Can I tell
Wait,
you something? I don't want to say
I'm
that
trying to
much, but
poo-poo the
you are
flat Earth
correct.
movement, but what
You're
I'm trying to
absolutely
say,
correct. And there's
you
more of
have
them.
to wake
There's
up.
more of them as well. There's more of
Yeah,
them that you mentioned. But can I
yes,
ask you something?
yeah.
Can I say something? I know it's a great subject to talk about. I actually agree with you, but I wanted to ask you something because when I first came across you,
Mhm.
um, I saw your video on the planes and that sort of plasma which is coming off, and I played it to like friends because I said, "What do you think you're looking at there?" And like
Mhm.
one said, "Well, maybe what it is it's water running down the wing and then running off, but that is not water coming off those things, is it?
Mm-mm.
That is
No.
not water."
Well, it's water vapor apparently, but you have to understand, this is a Mandela for me.
Plasma.
It looks like a plasma, but here's the weird part. So if I was to, you remember taking science in school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, can I give you can I ask you a science question? The
Uh-oh.
Earth, yes, the atmosphere is made up of three main components. Okay, one of those components is oxygen that we breathe. One of them is carbon. We've all heard about the evil carbon dioxide, global warming, climate change. What is the third main? This is the main component of the atmosphere. What do you remember? Can you? I'm sorry to put you on the spot. Don't mean to throw out. I'm not Bill Nye the
I should
Science
know the
Guy.
answer of what oxygen's made of.
No,
Air
no.
then.
Well, no, no. It's a gas. So you have oxygen, which is hydrogen and oxygen, or no, that's water.
I'm gonna
Sorry,
play with this
I'm
game.
sorry.
I'm gonna play
I'm
with
messing
game.
up. No, no, wait. I'm trying to explain this. So you have water. You have oxygen. Sorry, and then you have carbon dioxide. But there's another main component. What do you remember it being? Would you say it was? Let's see. Without leading the witness, should I say it's Well, would it be nitrogen? Would it be hydrogen? Or would it be
Would be
um,
nitrogen, wouldn't it? It'd have to be nitrogen then.
see, you think nitrogen. Now, what's weird
I don't
is
know. I'm
what
gonna
is
look it up now. It's
so
bad, really,
this
because
is
I should know it, but
this
I'm actually really tired, and I just,
I know.
yeah,
So sorry. So what
yeah.
I'm
That was.
trying to
I
get
heard it
at,
a long time ago. I've got.
this is a Mandela for me. Okay, this is where I'm like, and I think I spoke about in the video, is like, I remember in a world without, this is gonna blow a lot of people away. And you may not agree with me, but I'm going to just tell you what I remember. Because oxygen, our water, is made out of, hydrogen, oxygen. We all know that, right? Water is made up of that. It would make sense that our world had an atmosphere
Yeah,
that had
carbon dioxide.
hydrogen.
Dioxide it is then.
Well, carbon dioxide is what we breathe out,
Oh right, you did
okay?
that one, didn't
And then
you?
oxygen is what plants breathe out. And so, what I remember is that it was hydrogen, oxygen, and then it was carbon dioxide. Well, that would make sense because the hydrogen would mix, right, with oxygen, and it would create water. That's what we have in our atmosphere is water.
Mm.
However, it's nitrogen. Well, wait a minute. How did it become like almost 70 something percent nitrogen? I would have totally guessed hydrogen. When I asked this question to people, a lot of people remember the hydrogen. They're like, I thought it was hydrogen, a hydrogen atmosphere. That was our primary gas, but it's not, it's nitrogen. So now, if you look at the way airplanes are designed, You look at the way the engines now stick out in front of the wings. You look at how there's the strange, but the way the wings are sloped, that's different. It's like the planes are flying through a different substrate. It's like in the I know how this sounds.
Can I
I
tell
mean,
you
that's
what
the
I think
only
it
way
is?
I can describe it, is that because there seems to be, uh, for whatever reason, like different compositions to the actual atmosphere, it appears that planes and things like that have been designed differently to fly through it. That's why they look so different. This is why
So you think
people
they've
are no.
changed? You think they've changed what they are? Because I actually have another idea what I think it
I
is.
think it
What
did.
it is,
Yeah.
they're using. Listen, let me tell you yours, and then yours, because you'll probably say I'm wrong. But what I've seen with when I'm looking at footage is that these are military planes. Really, they've got they're military technology, but they've made them into passenger planes. And what it is you can look up 4D flying. These planes are flying in another dimension or something, and that's why they have that plasma. And I know that sounds crazy because
Well,
you
I
can
think
only find the fourth dimension on little toy planes. But
well,
what it is, the plane will just have
mhm.
taken off, and just above people's heads, it's like it's going through the water. It's like it's going through water, and it's all doing it all really slow, and it's a maneuver. It's not like everything is amazing on those Airbuses.
That's what I'm trying to say, is that the composition of the atmosphere has changed. So, for whatever reason, I believe, and I haven't researched this further, but it does appear that the atmosphere above us, whether, because we know that water isn't nitrogen and oxygen, we know it's
Oh,
hydrogen. Yeah,
Scarab. Oh my God, I just thought about it. Well, look, a lot of us have noticed that the clouds are lower than they used to be.
of
If they
course.
could, if they could through HARP lower that down,
It's
and then they've
not
got this
hard.
big bit,
Not
whatever
hard.
they do, whatever
How
they're
could HARP be
using.
all over the US? How could HARP generate enough power to change all the clouds around the
So
world?
what is it then?
Everything is shifted. Well, in my opinion, it's indicative of us being, it's a sort of a compression effect, right? I think that clouds are lower, and it appears that here's another one. Okay, so the clouds are lower. Let me just get to that point. The clouds are lower because whatever is going on, these layers of reality, things are being literally compressed. I feel like things are being compressed and sort of moved around. So in the Bible, it talks about the separation of the wheat and tares, and talks about all this going on. Well, I believe that for a time, things do come together and things are sort of made anew, like we're seeing right now on the earth. There is new history. There is new buildings. There is the mud flood theory. There's all this crazy stuff we can get into about all the changes. And then I believe there's a separation. But I believe that things have to get closer and come together. That's why everything looks and appears to be changing. If you look at a world map, okay, if you have any remembrance of geography the way it used to be, just look at a world map. Look at Italy, look at Sicily. When was Sicily literally touching Italy? Sicily was out in the Mediterranean, it was being kicked. Not anymore. It's right next to Italy. Literally, you can build a bridge. Oh, guess what they're thinking about doing?
Yeah, this
They're
is what I'm
thinking about
saying to
building a
you.
bridge.
We're changing it through a Mandela effect somehow because we're living in a realm and we're somehow
Uh,
changing it.
I listen. I believe that there's a
Now, when
higher.
did star forts, like
Yeah,
you talked about star
right,
forts, but I mean,
right.
we can talk about it now, but when did you grow up hearing about star forts and seeing star forts or no?
Are you
Like,
kidding me? I was loving castles and shit like that. I used to research cat just from time to time. I'm sorry, but
they weren't really in the
that stuff did
common knowledge.
not exist. Listen to me.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
is no way that this stuff existed. Absolutely not. I just would have seen it. I would have, the research
yes.
that I used to
Now we've
do.
all got pyramids. I've just been to two pyramids today, right? Silver
Well,
Hill's a
they're
pyramid,
everywhere now, aren't
and
they?
Merlin's Mound
Yeah.
is a pyramid. Merlin's Mound is in a college, and you can't go in there, but you can see it from the road. And I'm like, two pyramids within a few miles of each other, right
Uh-huh.
here. But nobody here knows that it's pyramids or even cares, but I do, and I went to Tuesday.
Well, there was a
Plus,
place
plus,
called the
the long
uh-huh.
barrowed people lived here, and there's hundreds of long barrows. These elongated headed people, they lived in England. I go out with this archaeologist that keeps taking me to the long barrows. There's loads of them around here.
Yeah,
It's like, well, they weren't in our history at all, and now they're
yeah,
in our
yeah.
history. And it's
I
like,
know. I know. Listen, there's some in Texas now since 1929. Listen to me. I told you about the let's backtracking, but I told you about Hurricane Harvey, how it created Trinity Bay. If you look it up, just you people are listening, or we're going to listen to this broadcast, look up Trinity Bay. Why would you have a bay with two different names in the same body of water? You have Galveston, which always existed there, but now there's this large body of water above it called Trinity. Why would you would name it one
do you
name?
know
You
what it
wouldn't.
feels
the
like?
the
It
same
feels like
body of water.
we're in a
Listen to me.
game. We're just in this. When it's a bit. I remember Ewan McGregor, right?
Yeah.
He sort of like, you join him as a sort of young man, and he's got these memories, and then I think he must have seen something, and then it made him think, and then it's like, and then basically he broke out, and basically what he realized was that he was a drone for someone else, and when that
Uh-huh.
person was ill, then he'd be the body parts. But in the end, what it was is he was a good man. He freed everybody in the building, and then basically in the end he took over the other person's life because he killed the other person, but he took his life over because he was the double. But I'm just saying is, when they get there, it's like, no, they were my memories, and they're like, no, they're implanted in you. Like, it's like we're in one of these films. We're in a film.
This is like Westworld. I'm telling you, this is like in Westworld. Remember the Anthony Hopkins played the god, almost sort of the god figure in there, and he would manipulate the world, build new sets, and people would come. The people would come, and they would wear a black hat or a white hat, be good or bad, and they are considered like the archons that sort of feed off our world, suck off our world, and use it as a playground. That's why these people are, some of these people are into some, doing the most horrendous things to just the normal sort of people that are here. And this is the spiritual battle we fight, because they are sort of interacting with our world on other levels, and we can't see it. We're not privy to it. We're just the players in all of this. When Anthony Hopkins as the god, you just watch that series, watch Westworld, and see if there isn't a ring of truth to that whole thing. And any other one guy that's in there, he's trying to find the secret to it all. What is the meaning of this? Like the rest
Yeah,
of it.
I had a comment about that program the other day to say that
Yeah.
we're living in that.
Hey, I'm telling you, where do you think they get these ideas from? Where do you think they get the ideas for Dark City, the Archons? Once again, these guys that manipulate reality at a certain time. They change reality. They buildings are formed overnight. You are putting different roles. I mean, is it that extreme? Well, maybe not, but it's really interesting that, at the end of the movie, they find this one guy, they're like, oh my God, they never called him awake. They just said that there was one that they couldn't control, and that he had the ability to, quote, tune or change reality like they do.
Have you seen the Adjustment Bureau?
Justin Bieber's another one, guys with the hats, with the fedoras. Remember, in the UFO community, they're called the men in black, and they always wear the fedoras, and they're always depicted as these guys that have some sort of.
It does feel
How many
like
times
there
have
is
we
like
seen
some,
this script? We've seen it. What was it? Was it? Oh, what was the one on TV? I'm trying to think.
but
There was
Matt
a
Damon is not a good man.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I think the actors and these people in that cabal, they're all, in my opinion, spiritually, uh, and it could be, even physically, they know what they are. That's why is it that we see the doppelgangers? Why do we see these famous actors in old pictures and things like that? It's like they keep coming back. It's weird. It's so weird how we see famous people, doppelgangers of them, showing back up and
Do you know what sometimes they
you
do? They
know,
like to put an effect in. So just say it was you. I
yeah.
might put John Wayne in you. So for 4 or 5 frames every minute, you'll be John Wayne.
Well,
And it
I'll
goes so quick that people
yeah.
see it. They don't, because what they've done is, you see, we live our lives through our subconscious. Our
Hmm.
conscious on the go, but it's our subconscious which runs our life. Our conscious doesn't see it, our subconscious does. And those things that they're doing to us go into our subconscious. And I've actually wondered whether couples might be sitting there and they start arguing with each other without really realizing why they're arguing, because basically they're being fed these layers of coded stuff that's gone into their subconscious, and they don't even know why.
Another movie the audience should listen or watch is it's not really talked about, but if you get a chance, watch a movie called The Nines. That's an interesting movie too. Very interesting concept of.
Do you know what? Through this case, this fake case, I realised the police were involved, the courts were involved, the prisons were involved, the solicitors or attorneys, whatever you want to call them, were involved.
Right.
The politics was involved, and so was the media, and the media is at the top. And I don't want to, I'm sure there must have been some kind of executions, but most of them are just to make you live in fear. They're not real.
Again, they use the fear to control us.
That's it. And guess what? We talked to someone else, and he had the 8 laws of anxiety, and basically that's a money-making thing, the anxiety thing, and that he was really good as well. And he had a part of the puzzle. He just did, because that's all to do with language and everything. It's how they portray things to us.
Yeah, I think if it was to break down everything, like from what
everything is an experiment on us. They want to see how we're going to react. But you see, what it is there's something. I think someone told me that they were on a beach yesterday in Wales at the weekend, and people were moving around, and the police turned up, but they were all enjoying it and not abiding to the rules, and the police were there trying to tell them to go home. Well, we're January, it's quite cold here, so if they're on the beach, it's obviously freedom. But today I went out to somewhere where there wasn't people, so you can get on with your life. If you don't watch the television and just get on with your life until you can't.
This is the thing, is like, in a nutshell, we are all here living out this human experience. And there are things, at work, again, in the spiritual realm. There are also things, I believe, in the know that understand, and this is, like I said, is it some sort of transference from the spiritual realm to this physical reality, where they literally use us as a playground? In a sense, this is why it seems like, there's certain, that's why they use the symbols, and they use certain, they use different codes to communicate. And if you see things that are like that, and you start to realize it's weird, and you could say, well, it's always it's always a Masonic thing or whatever. Well, that could definitely just be given to us just to throw us off. The point is like, most people who are Masons and things like that are master Masons here in the U.S. And I asked the Mason once, and I sat him down. I literally locked him in my shop, and I made him tell me everything. And I said, you tell me, because he's a friend of mine. And I locked him in. I locked the door, and I said, you're not getting out of here until I know some answers. I said, we all hear about this Masonic thing. I said, what are you? He goes, I'm a master Mason. I go, I'm master Mason. Okay. So what are you, 33 degree? He goes, oh, no. I'm only 3rd degree. Again, keeping people in the dark. A lot of people think like master Masons and your uncle and your father. These are guys that are part of a club. It's like a boys club where you go and you chill out and you work with other guys. It's nothing. It's not. I'm telling you, it's people freak out over all of this stuff.
Yes, it is. It is. But listen, I've never really said, but my dad is one. And he's been the master of his lodge and all that.
Yeah.
He never really talks about it. But they do, even though they're supposed to keep it, they do stuff for charity. He did a lot of charity work.
Damn right they do a lot for charity, because listen, the Masonic the people who are Masons, most of your fathers, your uncles, and everybody like that, those are usually just good men that want to give back to the community. It's nothing evil. To them, it makes no sense that people like go on and on. Now, my friend did admit there are higher institutions of Masonry, such as the Rosicrucians and things like that. But that's a weird, and you have the opportunity, you do have the opportunity to go deeper into Masonry if you so choose. Most men choose to stay at that's why they keep you down at the 3rd degree, and they call you a master Mason. That makes you feel like you've already reached the pinnacle. I'm a master Mason. So why should I go any further? It's like they sort of cut you off right there, or at least, make it seem like you should just stop right there. Now you can go further if you so choose, and you can get deeper into it. Now, the deeper stuff is your J.C. Penney's and your guys like that, are George Bush's and all that weirdness like that. So
my dad's a narcissist.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, well, Yeah, well, like I said, it's just I'm just saying, I'm just saying most people who are into that stuff are just there to just, and he broke it down like this. He said, and I'm not gonna lie, it sounds, if I was a person and I was back in business again, and I heard that this is their doctrine, I'd be like, well, that sounds like a fair doctrine. So what it is like, you go in and if I'm a plumber and I'm sitting next to an attorney or a doctor, they say that you're all equal in the lodge, meaning no man is better than any other man, so that you can speak and openly. You're like, it's like a brotherhood sort of thing. So it allows this freedom to like just be who you are, and no one looks down upon you for being like, oh, he's a plumber, I can't talk to him or whatever. You're all equal in the lodge. So that's why these guys are so connected with it, and that's why they don't ever talk about it or anything like that, because they feel like, what they've learned in there through their men in the relationships they built, they would be, kind of going against that. And so that's why people don't understand, like, most masons are not going to ever get to 33 degrees and all that Luciferian stuff that they talk about. And I get it. There's a lot of weirdness there with all that. And there's
Unfortunately, though, if only they realise
yeah.
what they signed up to. If soldiers only realised what they were
Well, I
signed
think
up to,
right. Well, I think
whatever they are, they're definitely
mhm.
collateral. They're not there to protect nothing. They don't care what happens to them at all.
Well, I think most I I don't know. I don't know what these guys know or do, at least from my friend's standpoint, which I know. I said, well, tell me about the secrets. What kind of secrets do you learn? He's like, dude, he goes, it's the most boring shit ever. It's no secrets. Like, I didn't learn any, like, he told me straight out what it was. It was nothing. He said I had to take I had to learn some stuff, some mathematics and stuff. And, it's like sacred geometry type normal shit that anybody can learn. It's nothing like that we haven't heard of. Like, he's not going to be able to build a, he's not going to put a pyramid together. Okay. He's just, what he's saying is like, it's just some basic shit you go through, they just teach you, and then that's it. And I was like, so secret handshakes. He goes, yeah, there's a hand. He goes, he goes, he goes, it's nothing. He goes, it was like a boys club. So I thought that was interesting. And I believe, I've known this guy a long time before he
Do you
was a
think?
Mason.
Do you
So I
think
feel like
the
he gave
more
it to me straight.
educated you become, the more somehow I call it educated, but the more you research and become educated,
Mm-hmm.
that's when the Mandela effect comes in somehow. But you're right. Everything. I don't remember star forts. Don't remember
No.
pyramids. Then they're there, and that's what they are. It's like,
One of the most incredible places on earth, if you want, if your audience wants to listen, and if they're listening and they, want to check some more stuff out, check out the Faroe Islands. And then I looked up Faroe Islands. I was like, what is the
really? What?
Faroe
Go on, John.
Islands?
I know quite a bit about this. I have a Danish friend.
Oh, man. Well, did you know they have some very interesting structures on the Faroe Islands? Large pyramids.
Yes,
You
I
should
did a
see
video
them.
about it. I did
Oh
a
my
video about
God,
it.
you did. Yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it, because when I first looked at the Faroe Islands, I saw the, it's very sparsely populated, as you
I
know.
do know something, Scarab. I
Uh,
love you because a lot of people don't even know what the Faroe Islands are. They're some
oh,
islands above
I love the
England,
Faroe Islands. Oh my
owned
God,
by
that
the
place is
Danish.
it's like a
Danish, yeah.
magical place, isn't it? It's like, but you only really visit like about 3 months out of the year, because the rest of the year is rough. I mean, those people live in some tough climate, right? But
Can I
it's
say something? Can
so
I say
beautiful.
something?
Yeah.
On research, right?
Uh-huh.
Even Greenland, I want to tell you about that. Even Greenland gets the same temperatures as us. Even north parts of Canada get to the 40s. Other
Yeah.
places get warmer, but they don't stay as warm for as long. But when I went to
Yeah.
Google Earth, right, and we were looking
Uh-huh.
up stuff, in Greenland and in the Faroe Islands, they had t-shirts on. I was like, what?
Uh-huh.
I
So,
never thought that
so
they
what
would be
kind of
living like that.
lies are they telling
But
us?
what it
Yeah.
is, I just explained to
Huh?
people, Denmark owns Greenland and it owns the Faroe Islands. And it's really strange because
Yeah.
that part of Greenland almost touches Canada.
Well, it's
But on a video,
yeah.
listen, on a video
Yeah.
I did, what it was is that everybody talks about the four rivers, which I know is on a circle map maybe, but they talk about the four rivers. And what it is I was looking at old maps and they had Greenland the size of England, which is a bit bigger than England, but not much, just a bit bigger. and behind that was the 4 rivers. So that is what is Greenland. So that whole lump is Greenland and the 4 rivers. Sorry, that was my research. And it's the same shape and everything.
I would love to get a proper representation of Greenland. I always hear Greenland is like so much smaller than what it's represented as. But if you go to the maps, Greenland is like this like place that's just covered in like pure ice all the time. Like you never, I'm like, oh, come on. There's got to be something more.
I mean, it could be
Again,
absolutely enormous. It could be even bigger than they're saying
yeah.
it is. But it's the 4
Well,
rivers and Greenland. Greenland is only the
yeah.
size of England. It kind of lies on its side.
Well,
And then if it's got mountains and that, these people might not really go much further because they're told it's so whatever. But then I find
it's like the Truman Show.
Listen, there are
We live in a Truman Show. Remember when we wanted to, when Truman wanted to explore and he wanted to go on vacation, he goes to a travel agent, and on the freaking wall there's an airplane with a lightning bolt, ripping through the wing, like as a subliminal thing to say maybe I shouldn't travel. I don't want to die in an airplane. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, why would you have such a horrendous looking picture on the wall? Again, it's media, it's lies.
A few years ago when I looked, it was just lies. But you can actually, tribes were living at the back of Greenland originally. That's right. So you've got people that live there. Okay, they might be more Eskimo-like, but they used to live there. But there are settlements on there. Really, quite north up, there's a settlement, and it was all to do with the Jew thing they did in the war. How they did some Jew thing, and it actually it's with that place.
Yeah, I heard years ago that in like here in America, like they found some weird artifacts that like you can't get to it now because it's Indian land, but there is like artifacts in right there in Arizona, at the what is that, the Grand Canyon. They found Egyptian artifacts there, mummies, and like how can Egyptian artifacts be in America, right?
Scarab, in this Mason book, it actually said that America was the original Egypt. And this book also explains that because there was no J's in those days, there was 8, so he would have been Jesus, not Jesus, and he is us. The book also explains that it might be the same book or a different book, I can't remember now, but basically this other person had broken down what the Bible really said when you looked at the Hebrew words. And so originally there was elongated headed people and giants and God, whatever, and they had connection to God. Then comes the next lot, which are the Adam and Eve lot, and basically they have a soul but not a spirit, and they don't have this connection to God. And then they made other people like empaths and people, the awake people. They're them. They have a spirit. And what it is that the Adam and Eve type will never ever wake up or never ever understand what you're living in or the whole thing. They will never see any truth. They will never believe you. They just cannot see it.
Yeah.
They just can't see it.
Well,
that's strange because it's actually in the Bible. This is all in the Bible.
Oh, I have to look up the scripture.
I can send you the video of the work that was done afterwards so that you can
Yeah. Well, look,
but so they lied to us. America was Egypt.
Well, what? See now, okay. I also heard that like things are getting it's called. I'm not sure about that. All I know is that America and the knowing of America, and like, oh my God, Christopher Columbus just founded it. And we were looking for it. Oh, he was looking for a trade route to India. All this other stories that we heard. It's all bullocks. Okay, to use one of your terms, bullocks. Right? It's BS. There's no way that was. They already knew this place was here. All right. They have ancient maps of,
you know what?
of America.
Is one of the oldest pyramids ever. It's older than the ones in Egypt, and it could have been like the motherboard. And then time starts here. You've got the Queen owns everything. I mean, I went and researched it. She owns everything. She owns Antarctica. She even owns America. And so basically, that's what I said. Your president president of corporation, but actually it's owned by the Queen, even if it's indirectly, you know, through the monarchy or whatever. She has owned practically everything. I said the only thing she doesn't own, or seems to be a problem, is China.
It appears that the
But
people that
they're
are
part of the
playing the
game
game,
because they were in the military
right?
thing. You don't have a
Well,
great big military games hosted, but nobody in China knows about it. So that's how
listen,
I know. I broke the footage down. It was fake, but
yeah,
nobody in China knows about it. But they had these great big games
right.
there in 2019 October. Why would they have that? They're going to chuck
Well,
China out for that, are they?
why would you understand they put all this out for a reason? It's ways to, again, it's part of the false reality.
Yeah.
Like I said, why would they open up that tunnel a few years ago? The Goddard tunnel. They opened the Goddard
Oh,
tunnel,
you mean the one
and
where they had that horrible ceremony at the beginning?
why would you do?
Oh,
Why
with the
would you do
goats.
that and then film it? If you really want to keep your your dealing secret with the devil, why in the hell would you film anything like that? I mean,
That
that
was
was like the
horrible.
most horrendous,
Yes,
like,
it was. I agree.
oh
It was
my God, you could
horrible.
break that thing down is so biblical and just spooky. And it's like,
It's in
oh my,
Switzerland. It was a tunnel they
yeah.
opened in Switzerland, not that far from CERN.
I
But
had no idea the Swiss were so evil.
all
My
the world
God.
leaders went
Holy
to that.
yeah, of course they did. And they're, it was like this weird paganistic ritual and shit. And they had the scarab beetles, pardon me, but I had no idea I was, lumped into that. There's like all this stuff. And I was like, oh my God. And then I started thinking, like, why in the hell are we being shown this? Why would this even get out? If you really wanted to have your little ceremony, you would have just done it. You're not going to like parade it out unless, then you have the people that say, well, Dan, what they're doing is, they're just coming out with it now because they have full control over the world anyway. So, they'll just do it. Who cares? Who gives a shit who sees it? Well, that may be the case, but I still say that, there's a lot more of us than them. But the problem is that, to some degree, unfortunately, I believe many of them are right because it appears, as we've heard, or, you may have been termed this way, the NPCs or the non-playing characters in this
Mm.
game, the ones that are just, just too asleep to see the world the way we see it, to see the weirdness and the strangeness that's going on. And we often wonder, why can't you people see this? How many times have we gone to friends and family and we've thrown the information down? We said, now look at all this weirdness. Look, let me show you on the internet what's going on. And they just, the cognitive dissonance kicks in and they're just like,
What you have to do
they're
is
not
you have
ready.
to remain open all the time to
Yeah.
everything because
Well,
there's even more we don't know. The moment you shut yourself off, you're not learning anything. And
the Matrix movie was right. In the movie The Matrix, remember when Neo woke up, he woke up to a world that was like dark and dreary and gone and
yes,
basically eating gruel. Listen, that's all I've got. That's why I tell people, I'm like, you know what? When people are ready to wake up, they are ready to wake up on their spiritual timeline. Because my point is like when even though I put out information, and of course I'm all about waking the masses, I don't push my information on anybody because all that does is cause people to pull back. I've learned through this is that there are people that are on their own set of what do you want to call it,
spiritual
their
path,
own spirit,
spiritual
yeah,
path.
their own spiritual path. True, yes, they're on their own spiritual path in this world today. And there are those that are waking up to more and more, and those are the people who are thirsting for knowledge. Those are the people you can reach out to. But to walk up to somebody now, and I used to do this all the time, talk about Mandela effect and the horror that I would put in on them. At first I was like, okay, I've gotten to them. But then they would realize that there's something weird and strange going on here. And then they would start to look at you like, are you messing with me? Why are you doing, like, why are you hurting me? So I
Yeah,
started
you know what?
realizing
That's
that
what that gas
I'm
man
not
was like
doing,
the other day. That's
yeah,
how he reacted as if I'd hurt him.
if you hurt them, yeah. And I started realizing, well, I don't want to hurt people. I don't want to,
Yeah, but
if
you're not
they're,
responsible for them, are you?
no, God is. That's what I'm saying. God is ultimately when you and I die, the day that happens, there would be nobody going with you. It's going to be between you and God ultimately. So when you think about this life, you have to remember that, not to be narcissistic about it, of course, you want to always help your fellow man, but you got to remember that ultimately it's about you and your walk and your journey through this spiritual path that we're walking right now.
Yeah.
You know,
We're
so
always alone. To be
we
honest.
will listen. You came into this world alone. You will leave this world alone. You know what I'm saying?
I've got a
You,
book up here.
yeah.
It's about the emotions. Basically
Mhm.
says the moment you get here, you're letting go. You're letting go from your childhood. It's all about letting go to go home.
One day I was meditating, praying, something. I was, just deep thinking. And I thought to myself, I was like, what was I? Who am I before I became me? What am I beyond the flesh? And who am I in the spirit? And right at that moment, it's like the entire world just dropped out from under my feet. And I was suspended in a world like of just where, like, there was, like, I was weightless for just a split second. And by God, it was the scariest thing ever to expand your consciousness like that, to experience that, because you start to realize that what you start to get more in touch with the true creator of everything, and you start to realize that this world is false. If I can break through time and expand like that in that instant to feel weightless, I realize that there's more that can be done for as far as understanding who I am on a spiritual level. And that's what I'm saying is, like, we are all, in this game for a reason. And I think that, and I believe, now I know it's not in the Christian faith or anything like that, but I wonder,
Do you know why I
often
asked
wonder, yeah.
if you were psychic? Because I feel that I'm psychic. I try not to look
Mhm.
at it too much now because I live in this realm, and the
Mhm.
psychic one's like living in a different realm. But
Mhm.
for a long time, I sort of got these visions, even 9/11, even planes. It never gave me a story. It would just give me these visions of things like for weeks before Diana died, although that's all fake as well. But I kept
Mhm.
seeing, basically, it was Kensington Palace with the railing around it, but I didn't realise that's what I was seeing. And things like that. And so, and then when I was younger, I went on holiday with this person, and actually, when she started to say what she said, I'd heard her say that before, but I hadn't. She was saying it then. Things like that. And then it's a bit like, I sometimes wonder whether you blank out. I don't notice it now, but when I was younger, I could blank out. So it was like a second and you're back. But in that second, it could have been like Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, where a whole episode happens. For them, they're stuck for 1 second. He goes, he comes back. That's
Mhm.
their life. But for him, he goes off and he saves the world and comes back.
Mhm.
It's sort of like that. And I know that's crazy, but I don't. I just think it's disgusting to put this much effort into lying to us. Really, I do.
Well, I think that, again, it comes to your spiritual development. And one thing that's never talked about is how many lifetimes do we go through this to increase our spiritual knowledge? I don't believe that the idea that this is the problem I have with some of the Christian understanding. Again, I think some of it is a tool to keep people subservient to it. Because if I'm born here, and
I think they use
and then,
religion to do that. They did use religion to do that.
well, of course they do, they use religion.
Because
Religion,
basically, none of those buildings were to do with churches. And even today, when I was out on the walk,
yeah.
she was telling me how these were pagan places. And then the church took them over and they looked like we call them
Well,
churches. But that church we call a church was a pagan building. And what it was is she said, we used to come through the north door here and see they've blocked it up. So
all
it's like,
I'm saying that there are
wow,
well-meaning Christians out there.
that wasn't
The
these
problem is
pagans
that I
weren't
don't
sitting around.
believe
No,
I
these pagans weren't sitting around a fire in the middle of the
Mhm.
countryside. These
Right,
these people had buildings. Like you're like, wow, that really blew my mind today because I just assumed that they were more countryish and they were
right.
out on the hills with those long barrows, but they weren't. They had buildings and things.
Well, it's just like learning that they actually moved the stone hinges, and the stone hinge there, and they actually laid the blocks on top of each other, and then there's pictures of them doing the reconstruction of the thing. And that you were told,
I'm not putting it back right.
well, then we're told, look, how did they get those big monoliths on? Well, they obviously used some cranes, because in the 1920s you can see the reconstruction. You can see the video. I think it's not
Yeah,
video,
but they
but
didn't put them back right, did they?
well, I don't even know what they did, because I'm not even sure. I'm
Can
just
I
like, look,
just say,
who would
Scarab, the
hold on.
archaeologist I went out with,
If you
the
mess with,
archaeologist I went out with today, she covers things
Mhm,
like that. That's part of her field.
yeah,
And she takes tour guides around there, and she just says they're not put back right, and
it's
they've
not
got.
even, who would mess with an archaeological site
Because
like
if
that?
they put it back right, maybe it's much more powerful. That's why. Because
Well,
we went to Silbury Hill today, and
uh-huh.
she said, "There's no way people with carts and horses built this. They're so symmetry-like. The things in them, they're like, you'd have to have proper engineers, everything to make these things. They weren't just."
Well,
They were just digging
obviously
sand
we
out with a
had
half
that.
shovel looking thing. These people were far more advanced.
Again, is that the truth, or did our world get laid out for us, and these things are here as ways to sift through it? Like, what I'm trying to say is, if you think of it like a movie set, where
Yes.
they set everything out, and then they just plop you into the movie set, and then you're allowed to explore
We
and try
don't
to
even
figure
know
it out
whether these
and create theories and ideas.
yeah,
I mean that's how, in my opinion, if I was to construct a world, right, and then put people in it, that would be a great way to keep everyone busy, talking and exercising their minds to new concepts and ideas. And then that way, while they're doing that, they're also focusing, if I'm the creator, like if I'm acting as a creator, that'd be a way of getting people to focus on
how do
the
we not
idea that
know? How
God
do we not
or
know that those
somebody.
things were the original things to make oxygen? Like in the Arnie film when he goes to Total Recall, when he goes to Mars, and there's things there he's
Mhm.
got to turn on to make the oxygen. They could have made our oxygen for us.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say in the Mandela effect. I remember the world being mostly hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide. This world now is nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide. And by
Can
the
I say
way,
something?
hmm,
You might not have heard of these people. They're called Peter and Pete, and they've done some experiments to show that when they say this is supposed to happen, something else happens. And the things that it's just all wrong. It's all wrong. It's all like everything they told us is wrong, and that's on sort of
well, nothing
science.
makes sense in this crazy place. Like, they have a script that they go by, and
I mean,
we
you
see
ever
it.
talk to a scientist? They've got nothing to say. Their answers is, well, you go around there and you turn around and you look at it and you do this.
Oh,
There's nothing. They've got nothing to say.
I owned a shop for a while working on automobiles, and I had a NASA guy come in once, and I grilled him. I was like, dude, he was gonna come back, and this guy would never answer my call again. I'm telling you, like, when he was there, he was really, like, thank you for working on the car, appreciate it. I got him out of a jam, and then, like, we had this. I sat him down, he's sitting down with his wife, and I was like, come on, man, what's up with this NASA stuff, dude? I mean, the moon landing. I mean, just give it to me straight, dude. And he just looked at me and laughed, and he's looking kind of sheepish, and he didn't say anything, he never would. He just
I
kept
would
a
hate
poker
to be a
face,
NASA
and
worker.
I was like, you come on, man, what's going on with all that? And he, I don't know if he just thought I was kidding with him or not, but I mean, I was trying to be somewhat humorous about it. I wasn't trying to be like, okay,
Do you know
damn it, you
what?
tell me now. Yeah, yeah.
Scarab, do you know what it does, right? The whole thing, I found
Mhm.
footage where we've got one paused astronaut, the other one's moving around. It was supposed to be live. It was Bowen and whatever it was in about 2013. I found many bits where the footage is wrong. But my whole thing when I made the video was, it's just really sad because it's taking your freedom away because it's making you believe in a reality that doesn't exist that takes your freedom away.
Yeah. Well, our
That's
freedoms,
what it's all about.
we will get our freedom back when we finally decide to quit listening to the computers
And
and
that's the
social
other
media.
thing, it's a
The
bit
day,
like
the day
that
we, the
children's
day
story.
we pile the phones. Listen, the day we pile the phones up into a nice, neat pile, and we set them on fire, and we have like a phone burning, and we decide that we don't want this technocratic, technology world anymore, and we want to get back down to what we were on a more physical, spiritual level. We can have our world back. But while we decide to be addicted to these devices, we are at the mercy of them.
But it does keep us communicating with each other, doesn't it?
No, but it does. But we've always figured out ways to communicate. I mean, we can all have phones again in our homes. There are ways we can use these devices and use them properly. The problem is that it's become an addiction. I mean, how many people have to stand up and say, you realize that social media, every time you get a text message, every time you get a tweet, that uh, a little bit of your brain releases a dopamine. Okay, releases
Yeah, that's the narcissistic
it
thing, isn't it?
it
Because that's all about
releases it
that's
releases a
narcissism.
drug.
Yeah.
Yeah, it releases a drug in your brain, very similar. It's like a small dose of heroin or cocaine, and every time that happens, and they've had many TED talks on this and everything else.
Attention,
Of
attention.
course, me, and you're so focused on me. You don't even know what you are. You think you are in the flesh. You have no idea your true spiritual nature and what you're really truly capable of, and how you really do you can interact with the earth and other people and change it for the good. But that's the way we do it, not by social distancing, by getting together and having and talking again in
Yeah, but
real
that's the
life.
bit that's broken, isn't it? That now we're too,
Oh, it's
like
so
with the mask
broken.
on, people can't even say hello to you. They just walk
Oh,
past you, maybe before someone might
even
go,
worse.
"Good afternoon."
Oh,
You
they
can't
tell
even
us
do that anymore.
no, you can't do that, and you certainly can't see somebody's emotions anymore. And then they want you to keep 6 feet
Yeah,
away.
2 years ago, if I turned up in a shop with a mask on, they'd go, "She's come to take the money."
Yeah,
Now everybody's got a mask on except me.
listen, I'm telling you, it's a conditioning tool. It's being used to
Yeah,
condition the masses, and there'll be some of us that will speak out
I
again
know
about
there's
it.
a lot of
And I
victims.
believe,
There are a lot of
and
victims. Everyone that's addicted to it,
mhm,
gambling,
yeah,
um, whatever it is, they're victims of the system that they made for us.
there are a lot of sins out there. And I'll tell you this, when I started thinking about the Mandela effect and the world we're living right now, and I often started thinking, it's like, you know, Jesus didn't become prevalent in our world as far as putting the books together and the Bibles and things weren't written about Jesus, or at least on paper, for almost, like some of the oldest manuscripts they can find are about 30 to 40 years after Jesus was here on earth. And so then you start thinking on that level, like, wow, okay, so Jesus
Can
was
I
that
tell you
important.
something?
Why did it
Tell you
take so
something?
long? One second. Well, I just want to finish this thought because I need to finish. What I'm trying to say is the stuff that we do now, okay, it more than likely is for a future generation. What I'm trying to say is everything that we talk about, the things that we share today, will be probably researched after we're gone, and they'll look back at, you know what I'm saying, like that's how I see it, because I don't know if we're necessarily, at that point, because I believe that part of the illusion is they always make every generation feel like they're the last ones. Now, looking at all the signs, I would say, holy shit, this might be the end. But then again, that could be part of the script telling you you're in the end. This is part of the stresses and the negativity they put on all of us while we're here.
Yeah,
And one of the reasons they do this is with this situation. I mean, I always look at it like, why is there light and dark and all this stuff like that? Why can't we just live in a more perfect, balanced world? Why must it always be fear driven, hate driven? Like, why do we have to, have the cesspool of emotion constantly? Because it's the emotion that drives life. It is emotion that makes people feel real. It's the emotion that gives this thing, like, it gives life actually the well, let's say the creativity and the energy to make it feel so real that you feel locked into it. But the Bible teaches us all the time. It says it in John, where, don't be lovers of this world or anything of it. Don't, like, it's trying to tell you you're living in a false reality. But people don't even read that scripture, and they just take it at face value. They don't see the deeper meaning to all of this. And that's what I think the Mandela effect, or part of it, is part of our awakening and our walk, is to look back at this stuff and revisit it with new eyes, so we can come to new conclusions and new understandings about who we are truly.
Very well said there. I like what you said. Thank you for that. Yeah, you're
No
right about
problem.
you're right about all that. Can I just say one thing though?
Yes, please.
In my journey, it's on Sun and Moon. Came across this hangout, and basically, they've added 1,000 years to our calendar. And the only time they started writing was about the 1100s. There's nothing written before the 1100s. So Jesus was probably born in the 1100s then, if he was born. But I actually just see it a bit differently. I think it's a conscious.
Hmm.
He's a consciousness that we're in.
Oh, I'm absolutely sure, and I wouldn't be surprised, if you know, again, if this world is a manufactured world for us, and we see how the changes of how they come about, we see how things can literally pop into our reality overnight. We have to understand there. Do you understand what we're explaining to people? Like the idea that manifestations, physical manifestations, can occur. Why is it that our memories haven't been, in a sense, erased and just accepted
What annoys
the new
me?
timeline?
What annoys me is it's a bit like when you get this little tiny, I call it an epiphany. It's like you think, why didn't I think of that before or realize that before?
Right.
You're, it's a bit like, you know, when you finish a relationship, you're always, for months afterwards, you're always leaving them because there's a divorce and you've got to sort out the furniture. Maybe you've got children, and it goes on, and there's these things you've got to sort out. They can't happen all in one day. They happen in a process, and it takes months and months. That's what this is all like. It's like, how could I believe the sun was 93 million miles away? And it was big and I'm small. It's just covering up our magnificence as a whole. And because we don't actually need them, that's what
Well,
it is.
I find the stars really
All that
interesting.
people want is, the reason they're needed is because people want the drama and don't realise they're actually watching live EastEnders, Dallas Dynasty. The whole thing is being played out for you on the television.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
you're
there's a
right.
lot of that.
And instead of us getting to, or knowing each other as people, we're now just glued to the soap.
Well, that's right. And very few people have, a true interaction with anybody else other than their families. And we're not getting, we're so
And most of
divided right now.
those are the Adam and Eve type. They just don't see it at all, and they don't care. Whereas I care.
Right. That's the thing is like, I think that's in a way, the senses that kick in, is that we want to care. I think you and I and many of us, we truly care about humanity in a bigger sense. And not to say I'm better or worse or anything else, because I do understand why another person couldn't do what I do. They couldn't research what I research, or take on the ideas and the thoughts that I take on, because they have kids, they have a life, they have a family that might be just their life path, so we don't poo-poo those people or consider them an
Yeah,
enemy
we're all on
because
different places, aren't
they're
we?
not
We're different
awake.
places, different times.
Exactly. I mean,
You know,
who's
there's
to
no way I
say?
could have done this research 20 years ago.
Right.
I had four, I've had 4 children. I couldn't do it then, but I can do it now. And it seems that a
Exactly.
lot of the 60s children are what's like really big in this whole thing. Is the
Oh,
60s.
totally. I was born in 71, so
Okay,
you
we're
know
on the cusp, but
I'm
you
on the
know,
cusp a bit. I'm close. I'm within I'm a Gen X, and I'd say the Gen Xers are probably the most awake of the bunch for some odd reason. For whatever this generation is
I
it.
wonder why that is then. Why it's a bit like, I don't
Mm.
know. There's just so many things that are wrong. It's just wrong.
I know, and we see it, right? And it's just like going back to the election. It's like, well, okay, I watch video after video of people and testimony, and there is fraud. Okay, the election was obviously a sham. I think most people agree there's something going on, but then you see it go to court and get dropped out and thrown out, and you're like, how can this be possible? How can so many people, you know, judge after judge after judge say no, 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 Supreme Court, no, no, no. Everyone's just no, it didn't happen. It's like, okay, this this can't be the reality I'm living in. Not how is it that I see one reality and I see it totally different. Like, obviously, if they're pulling out suitcases in the middle of the night, sending everybody home, running votes, and then all of a sudden Biden gets 190,000 votes to Trump's 3,000, you would think like that looks like something fishy. I'm not
Yeah, but the Americans aren't doing anything about it.
I'm not a cop or an investigator or anything like that, but just from the simple fact that that looks fishy as hell. I mean, come on now. And everyone just,
He did not win. He did not win that election.
no,
But you know something?
everybody believes it. I know.
Listen to this, right? Sarah, we had an election, like, when it was? It wasn't last year, or was it the year before? Anyway, one day I was looking at the footage of Boris, and I slowed the footage down. And what I realised was you can only fit 2 cars, 10 Downing Street. But they had made him the size of a child on a podium in the middle of the road, which made him look like he was in the middle of a field. And then by accident, a 15, 20-foot news, it wasn't that tall, but it looks like a 15, 20-foot giant with a camera is now taking pictures of this little tiny Boris. Boris was smaller than the people further away. And I wonder what that meant, because he was supposed to have won this great big election with an 80-seat majority, but he didn't. I don't think I'm saying people voted, but I don't think.
I don't think.
They
do you think Germany has voted in?
They filmed that months before it happened, and they made a total lie, and he did not win an 80-seat majority.
I talk with people all over the world, and all their leaders suck. Angela Merkel, who's been the prime minister for Germany for a long time. It's like, how does this woman keep getting voted in when, I mean, I talk to real Germans, and they're like, nobody seems to be very happy with the way things are being run there. And I often believe that they've been, I think these elections have been defrauded all over the world. I mean, it's just, isn't it amazing that for 4 years we never heard anything out of Kim Jong-un, the North Korean dictator, and then all of a sudden, now that Joe Biden is supposedly he's popping up, doing parades, showing his military prowess. Don't you think that this script is so incredible to me? It's like they just give this guy a call.
We don't know if that's really happening. That's only what the media are feeding. Because can I tell you something? I watched this program. It was a video. The BBC did it. That they said was that Trump did not have enough percentage of the vote to be president. I watched it. And I played it to Amy, who's an American, and I said, don't you think your country should have been watching that? Why are we watching that? We don't need to see that. And of course,
why is American politics all over Europe and in Australia?
Yeah, we think that you run everything. It's always our news, and then comes Trump, or it's going to be Biden now. So it's like they run the world. And then when you work it out, it's not them, it's the UK that runs everything.
Well, that's weird. It's like, for whatever reason, we have been deemed the Big Brother / reality TV show of the world. America is nothing but a big reality TV show for the rest of the world to watch all the insanity go playing out with all our politics. I don't blame other countries for being sick of Americans, hearing about our politics all the damn time. You got your own problems in your own country. Why is it again?
But it's also bases. They're all over Europe. They're all over everywhere, and they're all American.
Well, and I think that that's how they play it out. Like the people in control and the people in power and the people in the quote no.
Yeah.
This is how they play it out. They use America as the military branch of the world. And again, we are a one world government, whether we like it or not. They always act like they may not agree on certain things, but they all, as part of the script, it's part of the what they do. Again, that drives ratings, it drives drama, it drives emotion, which drives reality. See how all this plays out.
The news companies are paid to make the news.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. It's incredible what we're going through right now. I tell you what.
It's a silent war on the people.
It is. There is a war on the people, but then we also have to realize this is what I fight with every day. It's like, on one hand, we feel that there's injustices and things just seem completely bonkers. And then on the other hand, I also fight with the fact that this whole thing could just be part of this Truman Show illusionary reality that is being played out in front of us, again, to drive this emotion, which drives the world. you know, our emotions and our stake and all this, are we just being sort of just led in a sense by a stick and a carrot to just follow, you know, and to just try to get that carrot? We'll never reach it, because, you know, that's what they do. They just dangle that shit out in front of us sometimes. And it's just, pardon my French, but that's what they do. And it, you know, you have to look at this, the
They
whole
are so
scope of everything.
cruel. They are so
Oh,
cruel.
it's unbelievable. And that's why I believe that darker forces run the physical reality, you know, and that's what we're ultimately
You
fighting
have to tell me
against
where
in the
this is.
flesh.
This
Mhm.
is like this is like hell or purgatory or something.
Well,
There's
I often
something
wonder
wrong.
that. I often, because, you know, Maurice Cotterell, he once said, as he was looking into the idea of looking at the past, and he found some weird uh, the hieroglyphics in the Mayans. He said that when you took the dots and you put the hieroglyphs together, they form another picture that can only be seen in with a computer. Like, he said, this was so advanced. These weren't just written or drawn on a pyramid or something like that. These were meant, you know, later
Yeah,
on.
see, no
It's like this
candles,
code.
no
Yeah,
horses. This is high
yeah,
tech stuff.
yeah. It's very high tech stuff. And he said that he feels like everything below heaven is hell. So in a sense, he says we're in hell because we're not in we're not there yet. You know, and maybe purgatory is real. Maybe there, you know, I often said that I feel like there's different layers of reality. Maybe that's the different purgatories, these different realities. You know, maybe we shouldn't poo-poo certain ideas just because they happen to be,
You
oh,
know what
that's
I
a
want right
Catholic
now,
thing, or
Scarab?
that's a
Scarab,
that's a Jewish.
I want some
Yeah.
land that's mine. And what a shame it
Mm.
couldn't be a big piece of land. And it's like if you're really awake and you want a nicer life, you can come and live on my island. I don't I
Mhm.
just I used
I
to be
know.
such a social butterfly, and now I just don't want to go out there. I'm quite a hermit.
I know. I know. Me too. We all are. We're all, you know, I think we're all waiting for that moment where we just, you know, and that, you know, and I struggle with this so much. I struggle with every day wondering, like, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? I felt like I was called to do this in this time period, knowing, you know, a little bit about myself where I'm growing up. I had a lot of interesting experiences when I was younger. I always felt like God was calling out to me, and I knew instinctually
Well,
that there
maybe
would
you're
be
an indigo child as well.
I don't know anything about it. See, I don't really cover any of that stuff. All I know is that,
Spiritual. It's just a
yeah,
different
I've heard of
vibration.
those terms, but I don't really know anything about them. All I know is that I knew going into this. First off, I felt like when I was in kindergarten, there was a moment where I felt like there was a spiral, and I remember coming into my existence. And then I remember walking around the class and not knowing where I was, like it was a dream. And I remember thinking to myself, where am I? In fact, my first thought was, oh my God, I'm back, which I don't even know where I got that feeling from, but I absolutely remember this event. And
Yeah,
then I remember,
I was just telling you about it. It's like
yeah,
it's like the journey at the bottom of the sea. He used to go in the
right.
tunnel and he used to go off.
Mm-hmm.
It's an American program, and then he'd
Mm-hmm.
have a whole episode where he saved the world. But in the reality where he'd come from, everybody's stuck there because basically it's blink and he's back. It's
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. It's like you go off somewhere. I had many of those when I was younger.
Yeah, I came
But
back and
but when you're
yeah,
younger, you've got an attachment to the spiritual side, which goes through all these televisions, the lies. You lose it. I think that's why children are so expressive when they're younger in the photographs. They're going rah, and then as an adult, the pictures, everybody's faces just get lower and lower because they're more controlled.
I remember when I was younger, you know, there was a lot of things that were happening, but there was a moment when I was it was a dream I had, and I don't know if it equates with the, you know, feeling like I came back here. All I know is that at one point I know I have another memory of being in a garden, this beautiful place. It was almost, you know, it was like a heaven type place. And I remember there's a female and a male entity. I can't describe them, I just know that they were talking amongst it, you know,
I
and
feel that I
they
know
were
what levitating is about from this
mhm,
other, and also I know that I was truly loved wherever I came from.
right. Well, I felt the love that I felt in this place. I cannot describe to you the amount of love. Now, then one day I'm talking to a woman who had a near-death experience, and she died for 20 minutes and was resuscitated. And in her she told me about, now I've always heard about these on TV, but when you hear it from somebody, I literally broke down into tears because she described the love that I felt when I was a child and I experienced this place. And
Yeah,
I
I felt the
remember they
same.
told
I
me,
felt that wherever I'd come from, it was just pure love.
right, pure love, and it's just like all the worries, everything gone. It's just like this weight is lifted off of you and you
Yeah,
just feel so amazing. And I remember them telling me I had to go back. They told me like, listen, you've got to go back. And I remember going, no, I can't. I don't want to. And I remember being, sent back here. And this is just in a dream or it's a memory or it's something. But I remember this event and I remember it being so real. And I remember there were animals there. It was just this beautiful place. Like I say, it was like heaven, right? And so I always thought about that as a child, but growing up there was this thing, this splinter in the mind that I had, like there would be a moment in time where I felt that I would have to get up and do something important, very important. And I mean, and what I mean this is like it was important because it was important for the world, but it wasn't that I was going to be anybody. It's just that there would be a time of action that I would have to stand up and say something. And I'm telling you, from 2003, from the point I woke up and I went, and it was very difficult. Like like I told you in the beginning of the broadcast, I had severe like depression like for about 2 weeks, and I went to the doctor. I did all that, but moving into all this, I started researching the alternative media. I started looking at like what is going on. Oh, 9/11, okay. And I thought that's not it. That's all my life. And as I got older, I started to think, well, I still feel like this event is coming, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do. But I knew the moment it happened. So I'm at my computer in 2016, and somebody had mentioned in a comment on a random Mandela video, they were listing out all these Mandela changes. And I'll be honest, I was watching the video and I didn't see nothing. I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Then all of a sudden, this thing comes up, and as I'm reading the comments, somebody said, "When was there two Great Pyramids?" Well, you remember I told you in the beginning I had studied the Great Pyramids of Giza, a Great Pyramid of Giza, for my whole life because I knew they matched up with Orion's belt. And because used to sit outside in my telescope, I used to think about this often. I used to stare at the stars when I'd walk outside. I would take an inventory of where the stars were, how they looked in the sky. I'm here to tell you right now that the Great Pyramid of Giza is no longer the middle pyramid at all. There are three main pyramids in the Giza. If you thought it was the middle one, you are absolutely Mandela affected. If you learned that pyramid, the one that still has the flat, smooth stones on the top of the tip, that is not it. In fact, there are two great pyramids now. They're almost of equal size. Why is it that we've only ever heard of the one? Now there are two. This is really, really strange, right? Because this is like, okay, I always knew that. And
did
then
you know
there
that
was,
they're all on different levels as well?
what's that?
We speak to someone who would love to build his own pyramid to see what it did, because he's got his feeling about what it does. But
Yeah.
he told me all the pyramids are on different levels, but they all line up inside.
Well, I wouldn't, well, again, I believe that whatever is involved
And
in,
they've got like a music note on them. So it's like sheets of music, the way that they've layered them. You think,
sure.
how could people in
Well,
carts and horses
because
make that?
if it's not the pyramids that are really, I mean, the pyramids are interesting, but there's other places around the pyramids that are in,
Yeah, what about
it just,
Jordan? What about
just
Jordan
as
when
interesting. Yes.
they built into all that rock?
Hmm. Listen, the idea that these things were built the way they were built is a complete
Yes.
fabrication. Okay, so what are they and what do they do? Well, I do know that people should listen not to the authority in Egypt. They're there to cast the lie and the narrative. Listen to Kemet. Kemet is the oral traditionist of the Egyptian culture. Listen to what he has to say and check out some of his work on YouTube, Kemet. And if you listen to Kemet, he'll tell you that he'll break it down to you what the oral traditionists know. Okay, what it was been passed down by generation to generation, and he has a much deeper understanding of all of that stuff over there. And one thing they have is this chamber where water flows, and he said that it would make a certain resonance in a frequency, and that frequency could heal your body. People would go there to be
Yes,
healed,
we've
and
done that. We've done that as
very
well. Yeah,
interesting how
and
they.
they might have had different pyramids doing different things. And so,
It,
if you stuck a bunch of women in, say with
mhm.
one man or something, it might make a different frequency. If you, it's yeah, the same as we've done all that.
Yeah, like I said, there's just a lot of stuff out there. Again, the idea is the control of knowledge and how they manipulate it. That's how they control us. And for whatever reason, you and many others out there who are listening to this tonight will understand that it's about the knowledge you understand and about your walk. And the more you know, okay, the more understanding you can have about our world and the existence of who you are in it. So that's why it's really important for people to continue to research. And like I was getting to just real quick before I have to go, because it is, yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
you
little
know
after
what?
two.
We've been
But
talking for two and a
yes,
half hours.
yeah,
I'd like to say goodbye to you off air because I want to tell you something.
okay,
But carry on. We'll
okay.
finish.
I just wanted to
We will
finish one
round up.
thing that
Yeah, we will round up the hangout now. It's been an amazing hangout. But carry
it
on.
has. I just So one more thing to finish with this is back to the Egyptian thing, was that what happened in 2016. There's so many events, and maybe one day we can just focus on some of those. But I was driving home at 3 in the morning, and I look and I notice that Orion is literally on top of us, like in the sky. And I thought to myself, my God, the entire constellation of Orion is like 50 times larger, maybe 100 times larger in the sky. It was just, it was massive. And I start to think that you have to understand, when I tell you the sky has changed for me, it has. When I used to look at the stars, I could tell you how they were oriented, the size of them and everything else. It's all changed. It's like our world is being magnified. And another point I want to make is that I find it very strange that when you're in an airplane and you look out the window and you're away from the pollution and you're above the clouds and you look into the night sky, you can never see stars. Shouldn't the stars be so bright, the brightest you've ever seen them?
Can I tell you
Why
something,
is it
Scarab?
that we can't see stars in an airplane?
Scarab,
Well,
I've been looking at some. There isn't that much footage at night time, but I was watching the footage and the stars are in front of the camera and some of them are below the camera. Those
mm,
stars are only a few miles up.
I know.
Maybe like just say
So
2 to 7 miles up, something like
I'm
that.
telling you, this reality is not what we think it is. I'm just, trust me on this,
How
because
do I get to see those stars and you get to see those stars when they could never
well,
reach you from here?
I don't think you see the stars unless you're ground. Like when I say you're in an airplane and you're away, you know, I got some more stuff to share with you. I've flown lately, and when we were flying, they said we were flying at 30,000, 35,000 feet. I gotta tell you, we were right, like we weren't at 35,000 feet. I mean, this is incredible. I remember being in an airplane, being that high, and I'm I don't know how high they go, but I'm telling you, the plane I was on the last time, I looked out the window and I'm like, I feel like we're at like maybe 10,000, 12,000 feet. We're hardly, I mean, you could see all these lights and everything. And I'm like, that's impossible.
Yeah,
Like,
loads. Have you heard of Enslaved by No Media? He did
no,
all that. Everything's wrong. That on the
everything.
camera, it's telling you
Yeah,
that's a mile. It's not. It's half a mile.
right.
And then he did stuff with magnification. So he was looking at the city where he lives, and you can see all the buildings, and some of them look really big. The closer you got, then you can't see the buildings, and it's just all bizarre. But I noticed it on the pyramid, Silbury Hill, when we were at the car park. I said, "Look at the size of the pyramid." The pyramid was absolutely enormous. But when you walk to the fence, it kind of got smaller. And I'm not saying it's small, but there it was in the field. But back at the car park, it's now grown 3 times.
Wow.
See, a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
people capturing
see,
these
that's
things over
that's
the
that's
sea, but
that's
you can capture it over the land as well. You need, it happens there. I'm thinking, why is that showing us that?
one last thing I want to share with you is something that so all this stuff was happening, like things were starting to be revealed to me, and I thought, my God, how do I explain the stars changing or the moon changing, or we all heard people talk about the sun, so that was kind of like interesting. That happened like,
I even think the moon is getting lower. I think they're all getting lower.
oh, the moon is weird. Like, even the phase of the moon are off. The moon was never just
Yeah,
a
it happened
sliver.
last year because I was monitoring myself because my office looks east, and
Mhm.
I was looking, and I knew where the moon was. It would come up north and do these things. It was always sort of either on the right or the left of my window. And then what it was is, say the time when the Big Dipper's up, I knew where the Big Dipper was because I've watched the Big Dipper turn round and goes right up, and I was watching this thing. I got to like seeing 3/4 of its journey through the year, and then suddenly I was like, why is the Big Dipper there? It should be there. It was last year, it was this time, it was 8 o'clock, it was there. No, 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 it's above my head. So it's like they switched back something a quarter or something. They did something.
Mhm.
That I know they did something.
Well, let me tell you something. I had this drone. It was a pretty good sized drone. It's called a Phantom 3 drone. And I bought this drone, in 2016, and I was flying it above my head. Again, I had a witness there, and we saw a spark of light. Like, have you ever seen a meteor go by at night, real quick? It makes a flash, right? You seen a meteor?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, whatever that is, electrical. I think
Yeah, yeah.
they're
No.
electrical, but carry on.
Whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Like, they tell us they're little rocks or
Yeah.
whatever. Well, let me just tell you what happened. So I'm flying a drone. I know the drone was at 125 feet. The flash of light went under the drone. It literally looked like it was about 75 feet. Like it was. So what I'm trying to say is, what we see and what appears to us to be far is our eyes lying to us. When we see stars or we see meteor, how do we know that those flashes of light aren't right in your eye? We just assume they're far. You know what I'm saying? Because we have no frame of reference. But when you do have a frame of reference, like I had with the drone, the thing flew right underneath it. And my friend and I were baffled. I'm like, did you just see that? It was right there underneath the drone. How could a meteorite that if now and let me explain. If the drone wasn't there and I'm looking in the sky on the back, I would assume it was far, far away. That's what I'm trying to tell you, is that your eyes will deceive
Right.
you. You understand? That's what I've been shown. Those are my spiritual walks that I've had. I can get into the paranormal stuff. I can get into all that
We
stuff.
have a problem with the sky, don't we? You can do things differently on land than the sky. It's just open and
How is
massive.
it that I can take a camera and try this if your audience is listening? Take a flash from a camera, point it up, and when you got a nice clear night, and click it. And why does it seem to like make the stars flash when you flash the camera? Point it up and hit the flash button. It literally looks like, it's so weird. It makes it feel like there's a ceiling above you, like, because you're thinking, well, why would the stars flash like that? It's just odd stuff. Not to mention laser pointers are really weird. When you take a laser pointer and you point it at a cloud and you can see it underneath the cloud. Now, I mean, weird.
That's because in
Oh
our
my God.
mind we're told that the cloud. In school we've been taught the clouds are up in this layer of whatever it
Right.
is. Got something to add. I don't understand. I videoed the whole thing. We were at the end of our hangout. We had a couple of more moments to go, and then we said goodbye to each other. But none of that is on my video. We've just been doing the Mandela effect. If I've got this part of the video, why would our video finish? I said goodbye to everybody. Me and Scarab said goodbye to each other very nicely. Mwah! Thank you very much. None of that is on this video. If I've got this part of the video, why don't I have an ending?
I find that really bizarre considering that we were talking about the Mandela effect. There you go, part of my video disappears, but the rest of it's there. It's incredible. Anyway, just wanted to end on this bit. We had a great ending. I know that you can't hear it, but it was wonderful. Scarab is a really nice man, and we hopefully will have another hangout shortly. Anyway, thanks for watching.